Hello, you are watching Season 5 of the Fortnite Champions Series for Oceania, presented by the Australian Open. My name is Vandy, and I'll be your host for today. For week 2 of the qualifiers, we are once again joined by analysts Fallout and Timmy. Fallout, how are you? Timmy, how are you doing as well? You look like you're struggling a little bit there, Timmy.
Yeah, it's about 40 degrees in my room today, so I am struggling, but we're going to push on through. We'll be all right.
Sounds good, Fallout.
Meanwhile, friends, it's minus 20 degrees here in Chicago. So the exact opposite situation, trying to stay warm while Timmy's trying to cool down. But more importantly, the action's about to heat up. So I'm excited for some more Fortnite action here down in Oceania. Last week was a ton of fun. So great to be back once again, Vandy, alongside y'all.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful to be joined by you both again. And I mean, I love that you said things have been heating up because the tennis, I don't know if you guys have been watching it. Fallout, have you been keeping up with the tennis? Because it has been the definition of heating up recently with the finals around the corner.
Absolutely. I am a massive fan of this time of year, the Australian Open. I wasn't 5 years ago, but once the Australian Open started doing so many Fortnite events, I started becoming a big fan of tennis. It's been a lot of fun to watch. My boy Tsitsipas, my fellow Greek, unfortunately got taken out in the semifinals yesterday, but I'm excited for the grand finals. Going to be starting here in a little bit on the men's side. We'll see if Djokovic can win it again. It'll be fun to watch.
Have to wait and see. But on that note, a big congratulations as well to our 2021 women's singles champion, Naomi Osaka. She was actually kind enough to sit down and give the players in FNCS some champions advice. Take a look at this video.
You bring a lot of colour and flair to this event, but the Australian Open is more than just tennis. We have music and gaming, esports. I know you're a keen gamer yourself. For the contestants taking part in the Fortnite Champions Series tomorrow, have you got a champion's advice for those guys?
Oh, yeah. Well, if it's a team sort of sport, I've watched and played Fortnite before. I know it's really difficult. I have a hard time building. But yeah, just have fun.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Cool. Thank you.
I am such a fan of Naomi. I mean, you just can't help but be a fan of her. And I mean, she's a champion for a reason, but I do love that she actually just took time out. To the fact to even think that she's a Fortnite player herself, I never would have guessed it, huh, Fallout?
Yeah, that's spot on. You know, it's actually really cool. You know, the last 2 years going to the Australian Open, realizing how many tennis players, especially the younger ones in junior tennis, and of course, some of our younger professionals like Tsitsipas and others that do play Fortnite. It's been awesome to see. I actually had a chance to do an event with Coco Gauff last year. She is a massive fan of Fortnite. So it's really cool to see the crossover.
It's super duper cool. But enough about the tennis, because of course we came here for Fortnite. Let's take everyone at home through the structure, essentially how the tournament is going to work, what these weeks are about. Because of course, as I mentioned, we are on week 2, so there was a previous week of action before. So take us through that, Fallout.
Absolutely. I love the structure and format. A couple changes made from the past seasons as we pull up the graphic right now to show you guys exactly how the format's going to play out. We have 3 weeks of qualifiers. Each week of qualifiers will have 4 rounds. We, of course, are going to be showing our grand finals, our last round today. The top 10 teams qualify from each qualifier to make it to the semifinals. And, of course, that's top 132 teams overall that'll make it through. They'll compete in a 2-day semifinal, 6-game finals from each on both days. Top 8 from that will make it to the grand finals. And then the teams that place 9th through 16th, they'll compete in a reboot round, which is awesome. That's a one-match, winner-take-all reboot round, an opportunity to make it to the grand finals. I will lose my mind if that reboot round team somehow wins the grand finals, which will be a 2-day affair starting March 13th. It'll be the same exact and similar format to the semifinals. The winner of that will be crowned your Chapter 2 Season 5 champion. Slightly different format in terms of what we've seen from past seasons in the FNCS, but I'm excited, Mandy.
I'm very, very excited. Thanks for taking us through that, especially if you're new and joining us. It kind of just gives you that idea of how the tournament is going to run. But you may be wondering, how are we scoring these teams? And Timmy, luckily we've got you to explain exactly how the scoring is going to work for this tournament.
Yeah, lucky you. Anyway, so what we're going to see that's different from semis to finals is that it's 2 points per elim, and the placement thresholds are much higher. So what you're going to see here, 14 points if you get through to 4th place, but then it gets to 30 points for placing first. So we're going to be looking for lots of people playing for the Victory Royale by getting to height. You're also going to, what makes mid-ground viable this season is the fact that each elim is worth 2 points. And the reason that makes mid-ground viable is because these guys can control space around them, look to elim people coming near them, while the guys on height don't really get that opportunity to get those elims. So we're going to see a few battles and playstyles. It's going to be really interesting.
Thank you so much for that, Timmy. As you already said, we have started to see that in week one. Just the fact that elims are worth 2 points as opposed to the traditional 1 point that we've seen from most tournaments already is a big change, and it has made teams a whole lot more aggressive, which actually seems to lend itself to the way our Oceanic players like to play. But of course, no tournament would be complete without prizes. I saved this one for you, of course, for that. What are they playing for? What's at stake here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the prize breakdown. $90,000 total in prize pool, which is awesome, significant for the OCE region. Big shout out to Epic Games supporting the OCE region with, of course, the prize pool, but also broadcast. Every single tournament being broadcast, we can make sure to display the ridiculous skill on display. And as a result of that skill, there'll be some fruit for the labor. $22,000, so actually $22,500 for first place, all the way down to 15th place, which will be taking home $900. All the prizing is in US dollars. So that's actually over 120,000 Australian dollars, which is awesome. So significant prize pool. Love to see it. And with the Oceania region presented by Australian Open, Vandy.
It's a wonderful prize pool to see. $90,000 it is, as you said, is a lot of money. And I have a little bit of a surprise here. I know I'm full of surprises for you all, but I can't help but throw them out. With that prize pool, you may want to take a look at this because I don't know if you guys know, but if you haven't heard, Street Fighter icons Chun-Li and Ryu are actually joining Fortnite. So this is going to be the next new skins to join the game. And of course, if you take a look, what Ryu comes with, he's equipped with a training bag back bling, and he's got a built-in Shoryuken emote, and he's available in a bunch of variations. Chun-Li, she's available in 2 variations. She comes equipped with the Super Cab Basher back bling and built-in Lightning Kick emote. This is a blast from my nostalgic past, and I can't wait to see how these skins look in game. I'm very, very excited for this crossover. So, especially, I'm a big Chun-Li fan, but what about you guys? I want to hear, are you into fighting games? Fallout, big fan, yay, nay?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? That is also my childhood. Speaking of nostalgia, I've been loving Street Fighter for quite some time. So amazing to see these crossovers continue time and time again here in this chapter in this season. It's been fun to see. And I think Street Fighter being the latest edition of that is pretty sweet.
It's super sweet. Like you said, I love these game crossovers, but Fortnite bringing these skins to life in a different environment is just amazing. The first person to run that Chun-Li skin, I'm going to be your fangirl. So you heard it here first. But enough about that. Let's actually recap the previous week of qualifiers. And Timmy, if you could take us through the top 10 teams from last week that qualified.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll get the graphic up on screen. And what you're going to see is at the top there, you're going to see Sorov, Volks, and Sink taking out first place. The only team there to get 2 victory royales. Also 68 elim points. Really, really versatile display from them. 2 wins from height, but then on those games that they didn't win, they were looking to play through the mid-ground really, really easily. Will Ronan and Ishes, again, another team that played through the mid-ground. Lots of elims for them there, 68 as well, 140 points, which shows Volks, Sorov, and Sink with a 21-point win margin is really, really impressive. Comes to Basil, Jason, Vortex in third. Probably one of the best mid-ground teams in the world at the moment, and we saw them take a win from mid-ground, which we didn't see very often across any region last week at all. Muzz, Luder, and Speedy, again, another really consistent trio looking to play through the mid-ground, but we actually saw them get their victory royale from on height. So what we're starting to see is these top teams are ones that are really, really versatile, who can play across different play styles really successfully. And then 5th place there, another team that was versatile taking wins. 6th place, you've got Suns, Tui, and Cork with the 1 victory royale with the rocket launcher from Hydro. And then through 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, you've got Kazuki, DJ, and Chris. Bit of a low-ground warrior team right there. Esto, Omido, and Mammal in 8th. Rax, Skits, and Jake, another one of the best mid-ground teams in the world. Lots of different play styles on display. And we round out the top 10 with District, Bantus, and Gusos, another really good mid-ground team.
Thank you so much for that one, Timmy. It's really interesting to see, especially the points distribution from about 1st to 6th in terms of the qualifiers. Then it gets a little bit more spread out. So it just kind of goes to show how close it can be, even in that sort of top 5 region. But we haven't really seen the best. Like some teams were notably missing from last week. So Fresh's squad, of course, will be participating this week. So something to keep an eye out. But guys, I want to actually go through our predictions. So we've actually gotten our talent, so casters as well as analysts, to put in predictions for this week. Last week, what we actually saw was no one was jumping on the same ship. This week, I think it's a little bit different. Timmy, we'll bring up the graphic, and then I want to start with your prediction. Why have you chosen this squad?
Okay, yeah, there you go. I've joined on board with Alec, Jinx, and Worthy. So these guys, probably the best team in the region. Didn't quite show up last week, but I'm expecting them to pull off a really good week this week. What do you think, Fallout?
I think you're a big copycat for stealing my prediction. No, I'm just kidding. I don't blame you one bit, mate. Of course, a lot of the top teams are obviously not going to be competing this time since they qualified last week in Soref, Sink, and Co. So I'm sticking with my same prediction from last week. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. Jinx and Worthy, the two winningest players, most consistent players in OCE history. Jinx, of course, the former champion from last season. You can't count them out, and you can't not put them in your first place spot in my eyes, especially given the competition this week and this time around. Of course, Aussie and MDF, well, they disagreed. Timmy, walk me through their predictions.
Yeah, so it's really hard to go against Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax from Monster D-Face. I totally understand why they're doing that. Two of the best players in the world with Repulse and Forbes, with another really, really solid player from our region in Tyrax. And then Danath, Osiris, and Skits. I really like that choice from Aussie. Bit out of left field, but one of the most hardworking teams. Danath and Osiris were training with someone else, and they ended up picking up Skits instead, who's a controller player who came across from console. Really, really talented. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do today as well.
Yeah, you and I both. A couple other teams that are kind of dark horses in my eyes, Luna, Brezzo, and Culture. Hard to call them a dark horse. They obviously qualified last week. Big roster change in picking up Luna. I think that's a huge pickup for them. I'm excited to see what they can do with Luna on their team. They had the highest single Elim game in the qualifiers, 22 Elims in one game. Another team I'm looking out for is Raptor, Frizzy, and Oatly. They're going to be dropping Slurpee uncontested, in which we know is kind of a powerhouse POI. So I'm excited to see what they can do. Any other teams, Timmy, in your eyes that you're looking forward to seeing?
No, I think we covered off a majority of them. I think we're going to see a lot of variety in play styles. We're not going to see so many people playing for height today. I think there's going to be a few less of those dominant trios. One thing that's going to be really interesting, just the fact that we've got so many more trios, different trios playing today. We've lost 10 of the best trios in our region. Yep. We're going to get 10 new ones in, and it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm excited to see because I think there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of who's dropping where. We don't know who's going to be contested off the rip, right? There's a lot of teams that maybe a lot of these top players are not used to competing against in grand finals. So that might mean we'll see some 50-50s. And speaking of 50-50s, one thing that's really interesting, only one game in last week's finals, out of 24 games across all regions, was won by a team that was contested off drop. So dropping uncontested is so important. And interestingly enough, I know I predicted Jinx and Co to win. They're actually going to be contested off of the drop with Orzo over in Dirty Dock. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen there. Trixie and Doom will both be dropping over in Caddy and Weather Station in that area. So expect some early game fights from them. And just like we saw last week, especially with this format, expect some high elimination games and aggressive early games. Vandy I think it's going to be a really fun one to watch.
I think it's going to be a super fun one to watch. As you said, full of surprises and a lot of, I'm mostly interested in, as you said, the 50-50s, especially for the first few games as teams kind of sort it out. But as we get ready for match number one, I'm actually going to throw you over to our casters as we prepare for it. You are going to be joined by Aussie Antics and Monster. I hope you guys are as pumped as we are, guys. So take it away for us.
Thank you so much, Vandy. Of course, we are so pumped here. Monster last week got to kind of experience his first time watching OCE competitive Fortnite. I know he had a great time with it. We are incredibly excited. Monster, how are you feeling for tonight?
Yeah, listen, first of all, I'm ready to be back on the stage here for OCE. Had a crazy week here in the States. So you know what? Bring me across the pond where the weather's nice. It's cozy. It's stable. That aside, Aussie, listen, you took me through the ropes. You took me through my first ringer of OCE content on the main stage. And honestly, I wasn't expecting the gameplay that we got. It was like stacked, but fighting all going on at the same time. Just a crazy, different pace, I guess, for the region.
Yeah, it is. OC has that different pacing. Obviously, Timmy and Fallout just talked about it then. We've lost the 10 best teams, which I think will change it up even more because it is. There's that kind of skill gap in OC where the top players really do have that confidence to take those early game fights like we saw that you're maybe not potentially used to. But then once you kind of wean out those teams that are struggling a little bit more, it stays stacked till the very end. So you have like those really interesting early game engagements, but you still have active Storm Surge end games. And I think that is going to carry over today because as you saw, it's usually at the hands of players like Repulse who are still here today. So I think it might change a bit, but not much.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Repulse is having a good time last week. It's why I put him on the pick. We know he's going to quality on consistency regardless, right? So he's just getting his fights on, getting his comfortability going. And again, with him, Forbes, and Tyrax, they're a power trio. We saw some really interesting plays by them, even when they were down a member. So again, we're going to be in for a world of gameplay today, but Dirty Docks is probably going to be the main focus for me here. I know there's some other people that slept through the cracks, though.
There are, and that's the thing. Fallout just talked about. There's going to be that kind of uncertainty of where are people dropping. Once you start to take the big names out, like jobs have been acquired by teams. Everyone knows where they're going, right? We had Muzz's team go through. Everyone knows they drop Lazy Lake. So now we got a new team. Remy's team's coming in and taking that. Does someone go to Remy's old drop? And then who goes there? It is. Fallout touched on it perfectly. It's uncertainty. We don't really know who's going to be contested until today starts off. But in OCE fashion, when they're contested, it's not going to be a couple shots from across the mountain, a disengage. It's going to be all-out warfare, and I'm excited to see where it lands on either way because we've got to see who's going to go through now. The 10 ones have gone through, but we have some other big faces. Last week, we didn't have Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon make it through at all. They're now here in round 4 for the first time. That's a big name that didn't get the chance to come top 10, who is massively going to change up things here today.
Yeah, and he's one of the few that can do it at the caliber he does it. One of the best hybrids that we've seen hit the entire scene in general. So yeah, we're going to see him in here. Finally makes his way through. And again, the caliber of competition has been lessened a bit, right? Because the 10 best have moved on. So it is going to be a bit of a toss-up. Let's talk about how this is going to affect the semis moving forwards, though, right? We have an entire stage of where these players are going to affect the games.
They're going to affect the games massively. Like you said, it's a caliber shift, but it's also just, it's kind of uncertainty, right? You get stuck in this play mentality. You see it on NA East a lot. The scenes that practice a lot, and OCE is one of them, having set practice almost every night of the week. Once you take some of those teams and some of those names out of things, things change. All of a sudden, a team that you're used to rotating around, maybe again, let's touch on the Lazy Lake thing, right? Normally, let's say you're going, I don't know, caddy corners. You're used to Lazy Lake rotating early. Muzz's team gets out of there. Now, maybe Remy's team plays it a bit differently. They like to go for their search on the team at caddy. Things change up for you. It's going to be a little bit interesting, but yeah, coming into heats, coming into those semifinals, we now have to have these players sit back. I know a lot of the main pros out there doing their viewing parties. They're watching what's going on, and they're going to have to sit back and watch because we do have game 1 underway, and this is the most important part of every tour, right, Monster? The map shot.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's going to be hopping down and touching down and just judging by the way players are touching down here. This was a north to south bus, and these players on the south side are getting the last time to touch down now. Western players still in the air here to touch down. Sacco 74 being up on the screen. Steamy Stacks highly contested here. 2 teams there. Dirty Dogs we already know is going to have a contest going on there as well. And it seems like no squad's been dropped so far, but players have been eliminated.
And no teams at Misty Meadows. This one's crazy. And I don't know if that's because of, again, we talked about it. Timmy talked about it. You talked about it. Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax. They have that drop on lockdown. That is the last place on the map you're considering dropping because you know not only is it a top tier team, it's a very aggressive team. So I don't know, maybe a connection issue or maybe Repulse's team just threw a spanner in the works like, hey, we're not going Misty. We're going to drop somewhere else. So I'm excited to see where that is. As I can see in the top right, I thought this might happen. My prediction to do well here tonight, I thought they might be contested, and they are. We've got our GLM squad, Osiris, Danath as well up here now, taking on Mako's squad, who last week, Monster, we saw take this fight time and time again.
Yeah, definitely. Already showing that they will stick the dropout. They will take the fights every round. This time around, though, a much different caliber of team is landing on them. And it ends so much faster, right? You remember that game 1 from last week? It was a standoff at the gas station for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, Storm was the only thing that got those guys moving. They were rooted firmly at Sweaty Sands. But like that's why I picked that team. That's why I said Osiris' team is my favorite to win here. Timmy touched on it. It's out of left field. If you're watching from home, you don't follow a lot of OCE, you're confused. Ozzy, why'd you pick this team? It is an interesting choice. I get that, but it's a team that I know is going to try their absolute hardest here today. They're not going to rest on trying to get their series points. They're going to try and make it through as another team we saw from last week, Monster. Our Middle East contingent made it here 2 weeks in a row. This team actually usually plays on Middle East, choosing to play on OCE today at a ping disadvantage of at least 100 plus. Zwiddy, Toggle, and Fizz, and they qualified 2 weeks in a row, and they want to have the fight at caddy corners yet again.
But I like this. This is not just a fight at caddy. That means they get weather station to themselves this time around. We might actually see them make multiple end games. We only saw it maybe once or twice last week. Not enough for them to carry on through. Remember, you need about 4 or 5 big games, like solid, steady games in order to make that top 10. So for them to have the draw slots themselves, that could be the secret recipe for success.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They were being contested by Remy's team last week, which is an incredibly solid team, very, very scary team. And that's why the fights were a little bit harder for them. Remy's team now moving over to Lazy Lake with Muzz, Luda, and Speedy already qualifying. So we're already seeing how things are changing up massively because of that top 10 going through as this fight in Caddy Corners breaks out. And we do have our Middle East contingent coming out on top, hitting the dance on them as well, showing, a little bit of spice there because that's what they want to do. They want to claim this drop. You touched on it, Monster. They now have Caddy and they have Weather Station, and I don't want to call too early. I don't know if they're watching the NA games today. Monster, you and me were talking about beforehand. That means the snowball launcher is potentially on the cards, but I don't know if they've been paying as much attention internationally. It was really only discovered today how strong that item was.
That's what I was going to say, right? It's really if they did the homework or not. I do know, hey, listen, man, these boys, they're active on social media. They're reaching out to us. They actually really appreciate all the calls that we did for them last week. So I know they're going to do better this week, being that they're uncontested. We will keep a close eye out on them. Steamy Stacks looks like it's been a bit of a stalemate, though. You can see those ramps poising up for the fight, but if you own the stacks, you kind of own the airspace, right? You own all the control here. That's why Fragger Riz is able to just hang out right now and really, I guess, just be that daunting pressure from up above. Although he's not doing anything, it still is that factor, right? The looming factor in the air.
Yeah, it's always a scary one. Steamy Stacks is one of those drop spots that I don't particularly like going because when I go up against teams that have the drop spot down packed, they know how to play it, they beat me. It's a drop that really does have a lot of skill in it, a lot of game knowledge, how to play the stacks, how to play the buildings, which windows can you go through, where can you hold an angle. It's a drop spot with a lot of intensity to it, and I love watching it break out every time. It reminds me of more of the mythic drops from old, right? Onto the grottos, the sharks, you hide in the vents, how are you going to pop up? It just has that caliber of drop spot knowledge that maybe somewhere more conventional like Holy Hedges just doesn't have.
And no doubt about it. Definitely got those conventional drop spots, these new springing drop spots, right? Obviously now the gold economy playing all kinds of favor into people's drops. Here though, Hunter's Haven, a drop that you don't really see contested too often, right? This is a low-key drop. It's in the middle of the map, and if you do get contested here, there's not a lot of loot for everyone. There's enough to get situated, but you really want to end this one quickly, and this is not what's happening here. It's the opposite. It's a build-off in a place that you don't get a lot of mats at.
Yeah, you need to end this fight fast and loot the areas around it. You're right. Hunter's Haven has enough loot for one team, and if you want to have a good shot at it, you really need to start pushing in to, Mando's house around the corner. You need to start getting some of the bridge loot. You need to move away quickly, and that's just not what this team's doing. I say that, though, BMP has 4 splashes in the back pocket, so a bit of spare meds there, especially when it's for the whole team, and they're dropping down, taking some fights. Only has 6 builds, though, so needs to be careful. I like this kind of box fight mentality, though. They're keeping themselves covered, because I was about to say, this spot of the map's really good to stay kind of huddled and covered in, but if you build up that high, everyone can see you. So dropping down now and taking these fights, but they're not making it a quick one for him.
Yeah, no doubt this is going to be spaced out here. And again, the down and up trend, he's going to go ahead and swing back around, get back to his teammates here to see what kind of loot they can split. But look, even shotgun ammo running thin here for Fly, which means Sama is also low. Kripa, Rip, and BMP here again on the hunt for one another, trying to look out and see Tezcito on the side angle there. Yes, he's going to be able to land a shot, but no, he gets fried in the process, and they turn it around. That's going to be a crucial siphoning pickup.
Yeah, they're going to have to get the siphon and get the elimination quickly. We're already down to 80 alive, which we're going to see usually happen in OC a lot. You see a lot more players go down early, especially in these early games of people trying to figure out their drops, but that's when it still does stay towards the end. Once everyone finds their spots, they find their routes, that's when everyone starts focusing on the rotations. But right now, Kyoto wants to do something here, wants to try and find these angles, and I like the way he's been playing these box fights, playing these angles, really playing it smart, but unfortunately on the back foot because they are in a 2v3 situation, and that's the problem. You try to play the slow, methodical box fight, but if you've got the numbers against you, if your teammate gets caught out right then, they just run straight through them. You can have all the piece control you want, all the angles, all the edits, but if 3 people run at you and they've got barrels on you, you're usually going to go down.
Yeah, not only that, he had a bit of a gray area there as well, backing yourself up against those trees. You just don't get the benefit of the visual cues either. So it was all bad for the fight there. Here, though, Brezzo on the other side with his teammate. Talk about them mixing things up, right, and trying to come back. Oh, we get to see Radius this side. I feel like this is 2 power trios going against one another.
2 very big power trees going ahead against each other right now. And Radius, Slayer, and Fluxy have been very, very vocal on social media and just as players in general that their main goal right now is not to try and get that top 10 for the qual. They know they're going to get there off consistency. They're trying to hold down the middle of the map and make players know coming into heats and finals that middle of the map is their area. They're not just Coliseum. They are everywhere the sand touches. That's what they want to do. 22. And this is a new team. We get our quick stat coming up that Brezzo, Coach, and Luna had the most single game elims with 22 from round 3. That is massive, and it is a new team on the block. We talked about it. Obviously, Luna filling the spot of Bridge this week. Luna, a player that's been playing since before World Cup, being a competitive veteran, usually known for being more of a leader, more of an IGL role, and that's what Brezzo and Culture were kind of lacking here. So looks like that's what's going to come up for them here today.
Well, let's not forget, when you switch teams, you reset your series points and whatnot. So this is an important week for Brezzo, Luna, and Colt here, right? This is a very important week. So honestly, they're striving for top 10. Danger is all around them when they're sitting next to other players with different agendas. They really have to be hyper cautious now.
That's it again. You saw it last week with Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax, a team that just had the confidence to pretty much take fights you wouldn't be expecting. You never know. You think, okay, we're here on edge. They're beneath us. We've got good mats. They've got good mats. Good position. How's it going to break down? And then all of a sudden they start smacking on your walls because they're not playing the same game as you. The stakes for them are different, but you touched on it. If you guys don't know at home, the way the qualifications are going to work into semifinals, which is the heats, there are now 4 for every region. There's obviously 3 qualifying weeks. That only makes 30 teams that are going to get in from getting top 10 in those weeks. The other 102 teams are going to be selected through consistency of series points. So that's how well you do in all the rounds of the week. So when we talk about Brezzo's team swapping up, by dropping Bridge and picking up Luna, they lost any points they gained last week. So there is more pressure on them now to do exceptionally well this week and next week.
Yeah, it's just making up for lost time, and again, making it to this final stage. This is important. This is very important. You get a lot of points. So they really do leave so much on the table. Here, though, we have a bit of a fight breaking out in the most northern portion. The likelihood of another team rotating here is so slim that this is not a bad 3v3 to take if you're feeling pretty confident, want to stay warmed up. Remember, it's just game 1, and game 1 is, I'd say, off to a pretty quick pace here for OCE. I think last week was let's put our toes in the water, right? Kind of dip in there, feel the temperature out. And I think now we're more on track with that. Hey, let's get these fights going. Let's get active.
Yeah, let's get active right now. As Tekmar looking to try and hopefully avoid this one. I was about to say a headshot snipe there. Tekmar's a player who has a lot of respect in the OCE region, or a bit of a reputation for being incredibly good with the sniper, especially the hunting rifle when it was still in the game, getting ridiculously consistent 200-meter plus no scopes. So not the play you want to open the window up in front of either way, as it looks like Oatley and Prizzy playing this one out as a duo. A bit of a connection issue there potentially on their third. It's going to be a rough way to start game 1, but looking like they've got the loot and looking like they're still playing confident as we have the scoring format come up. If you were here for the pre-show, you would have seen it, but this is a different scoring format to the previous FNCS trios we saw last season, but also different to what you've seen from round 1, 2, and 3 each week in the qualifiers. Round 4 changes it up. Right now, a win is worth 30 points, but each elim is worth 2, and the top 3 is where the placement points ramp up significantly. And we saw this last week, Monster. Getting consistent, 6th and 7th place with an elim was nowhere near good enough.
Yeah, it just wasn't. You really need that top 3. That's where things start to break in. And honestly, I like to call it, the marker is getting past that 22-minute mark. You hate to be alive for the 20 minutes and then not alive for just long enough to make those final zones and those final pushes. So we'll see who comes up short. We'll see who just squeaks away with it, right? There's a lot of clutch factor involved when it comes down to those final zones, those final instances. It's so easy to mistake a heel off. It's so easy to forget how to look at the zone, right, and multitask that one out. That's the difference. That's the difference in those end games. It's who's been practicing those layer changes.
Yeah, it's dropping one layer in the wrong position. It's even a flopper sometimes. One flopper is the difference between 4 seconds in the zone, and sometimes that's enough to go from 4th to 2nd potentially. So we'll have to see. As now it's shooting with Steve-O's team. This is an interesting one. They've got a really good loadout, and they're choosing to set up here on the edge of 2nd, which I'm guessing means they potentially think they need a bit more Storm Surge. I didn't get to see it right before we swapped over to Oatley and Prizzy, but choosing to hold up here is really a Storm Surge positioning. I guess they also didn't want to just run in the open sightlines past all these teams. Could have opted more for the center rotates with the sand, maybe the crystals, maybe a vehicle up the road to get past this one, because this is turning into a very, very congested edge.
Yeah, it's a poor spot to be in. The river going against them as well. So again, lost out on a bunch of free mobility opportunities here. And this is a Storm Surge warning going off right now, right? There's just a couple seconds on the clock now before it's going to start triggering. 7 players have to fall here. That can be a number of different teams. This is a squad that's only just barely, I was going to say just barely above, so you know they're going to need to fight this.
Yeah, and with 77, you got to think at least once 3 of these trios go down, or 2 in a little bit, that means they're going to drop below. They have to be one of the teams that's right at the very bottom right now, as you see another team 10 above, Reckless setting up for this. Reckless known as being one of the young fraggers in OCE, trying to do something here, maybe with that sniper rifle, and there it is. You see that Storm Surge go active, and this is what you want to avoid. 29 below, you've got to get in right now. They are taking significant damage as a full trio, 25 damage to be exact, as they're trying to make their way into this fight, and this team inside knows. They know they're below, so you can either just get a tag, sit back and let Storm Surge take them, or think, hey, this team they're desperate right now, they're weak, let's push out on them, as they got 1 AR tag, 26 above, and they're going to rest on that, and I don't like that decision, Monster.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not the greatest decision, but it does buy them a little bit of time to reset the heels, where otherwise that pressure would have forced them to collide here. And again, they were up above for a single damage, and then again, an AR made the difference, and now Storm Surge is back. It's active. They're getting tagged again. And you said it, it's a full trio tag, right? They're all getting wrecked right now, so they have to keep fighting. Here it is.
And that's it as well. Once it takes you down, if you go below 25 and the Storm Surge is what finishes you, you don't go down. You are completely eliminated. There is no ability to pick you back up, so you are gone straight away. But they're 115 above. Still 3 players have to go down, though. You talked about it, Monster, right? OCE's got some interesting pacing. We saw a lot of players go down early, but then in the mid-game, once all those fights calm down, everyone rotates, and we've now had active Surge going for the last at least 30 seconds.
Yeah, that means players are healing their way through this. Players are trying to fight their way through. It's a back and forth. And it means Surge is exchanging hands a lot right now, including in Reckless's hands, who's putting his pressure down. They still want to continue. Remember, Surge is not going to end here. Their battle is still uphill. They need more damage regardless. This is going to come back around. There's other zones, right? Ozzy, they have to keep fighting regardless. So it's an interesting decision to fight right now, but it's one that they have to do.
This one they have to do. They got a little bit ahead of them, and now they can hold them with the zone pressure out there as well. Lazy putting down some damage right now. Fragger is trying to push forward, and I think they have the advantage of this one. I think they're going to clean it up. So even though they were the ones who had to play aggressive with Storm Surge putting their back against the wall, it looks like they might come out on top of this one, as Riz trying to push their way in. Blue Charge can swing a fight so quickly. 1 tag on a Lazy, and that should be enough with a big charge. Can they find it? Lazy goes through the builds. Don't know if Lazy has any builds. Looks like he's trying to conserve them. Goes up above. Riz trying to find something. Has the med kit, so can take his time, but getting the cards, I don't like the chance of a reboot. And as you're seeing from the minimap as well, Monster, they're not out of the battle yet. They're going to get in, and then they're going to get held again, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and it's a 5 tick as well. So Lazy is not coming out of here with a lot of HP, regardless of how this all crumbles. Here, though, on the other side of the map, more fights going on. You can see clashes on the edge of the zone lines there, down low, up above, but now things are going to settle out, and it seems like there's a solo below this trio based up, which is the GLM boys. You saw their fight earlier on, again holding down that Coliseum area.
Holding down the Coliseum. Such an interesting spot to have this first game finished right now, as Danath, my pick, making a good rotate right now, as Raikou, Zans, and Oreo. A very, very good fighting team, showing that right here, right now, taking out almost a full trio. Looks like they found 2 of the 3. Zan's taking some damage in the exchange, and it is Rainey's team, as Oreo just shook down, so they know this player's above them. They have the information from that shakedown of exactly where they are, but while this team's a good fighting team, they're also a smart team who knows they need to rotate pretty far right now, and there's a lot of people between them and the zone. So I think they're going to be happy with their 2 eliminations. That's 4 points, their Storm Surge, and the extra loot.
I do wonder about the heal decision there, though. Bit of a misplay, not looking to hit the minis. He did just drink the big pot. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. Regardless of what, it is still pressure to move on. Here's the Middle Eastern boys. We talked about them. I saw everyone asking, is Toggle, Zwitty, and Fizz alive? And they are 3 elims still. So again, that early surge putting them in a comfortable position is keep a low profile. That's perfect for a team that has any disadvantages, right? Get those early fights. It's the easiest time to stay alive and get yourself ahead of the game.
Yeah, definitely. And it's such a weird spot. Look at the zone right now, Monster. No one choosing to set up on the stacks or anywhere near them, when that's guaranteed high ground that's indestructible and guaranteed rotation off the stacks. I'm finding that so surprising to see that OCE has really rotated down this edge, and this is exactly what I was expecting right now. You talk about this edge being congested, not just with players, but good players too. I see Remy, Spraz in there as well, and I also saw our FNCS champions, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, and they're 30 below, so things are getting active in this area very quickly.
There's no Alec in sight. It's just Jinx and Worthy here to play with one another. No Elims either. So again, a donut game. Remember the last week we watched them, they didn't pick up a single point in game one. Uncharacteristic of them. Will they have another donut run coming into this one? I hope not.
Wow.
I hope not. But if they do, I mean, they've been having a rough time the last few weeks. Like, really rough time playing Fortnite.
Yeah, they only just made it into even round 4 today in their last game yesterday in round 3. First time you've actually seen that trio not stream a tournament. Halfway through, they ended it. Things weren't going the best. They ended up clutching the qualification, but for a team of that caliber, it normally doesn't come that close. So yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I don't want to say it because they are OCE's best and brightest favorites to win FNCS, but they're struggling.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of, you know, our typical NA tier 1 boys not making it through, and we're seeing that on that region as well. So hey man, new season shakeups, you know, not every meta is going to be for every trio, but you know, the best will move on. I'm sure we'll see them in consistency, but you know, if the performances of late are any indicator, there's something going on with that trio. So we'll have to pinpoint that here later. Here's Fresh. First look at Fresh, Rel and company looking pretty decent. Yeah, looking pretty decent. They had an interesting run yesterday as well. Some dramas kind of qualifying. They had some issues early on in their games where they brought it back at the very end. Rel stepping up into the, you know, the big brain IGL role he's known for, being one of the older, more mature players in OCE. Get a new platoon, the young fragger under wraps. It was an interesting stream, an interesting run for them to make it to round 4 because obviously they didn't do it last week. So a lot of pressure on them as a top tier team, and looks like they're performing well here right now, potentially getting the high ground on the half-half position to have a huge game 1. Not the best loadout for Fresh right now though, only 1 mini, 1 big pop, but when you look at Rel, different story, and that is looking really, really good for this team. And New Batoon being that young mech fragger like we know him to be, he's probably got the good guns as well. Yeah, definitely. Pretty solid for them right there. And the best positioning you can ask for. Half and half out. High ground is the spot to be. Worthy's going to find something in the feed, though.
2 eliminations solo.
Look at
like,
this,
what
though.
happened
Hold
there?
Yeah, but look at Toggle. Toggle's got 4 elims. We just tuned in with them. They only had 3. Looks like they picked up a whole trio wipe at the expense of Zwitty. So Zwitty is down.
Yeah, going down to Prizzy. I saw one of these players actually make an exchange over onto Jinx, so it looks like maybe they took some tags over there. Worthy went off on his own and made big things happen as well, but Worthy is down to being a solo, seeing a lot of our big names kind of huddle up here. And where does the first rotating zone go? Where does 6th zone pull? And it pulls onto the half-half. I believe that New Batoon, Rel, and Fresh are on, and based on them building up right now and reinforcing, I think that's very true, and that is huge for the big content creator team here with a lot of pressure on them. Game 1, they're getting gifted a little bit. Good positioning. I'm not going to try and say they didn't earn it, but getting first rotating zone on that half-half when the other half of the lobby was set up on the other potential half-half, that is massive.
I mean, yeah, let's be honest. You know, a little bit of luck can go a long way in any sport, and that includes the esports, includes Fortnite competition here. Getting that half in, half out is going to be a blessing here, and you can see Fresh and company are looking out, but no, they let their guard down. Oatly and Prisoner are going to come on up, and it's a back and forth. RPGs coming out as well. It's going to be a sloppy hold for the high ground. I think they have to give it up.
I think they might have to give it up as well. They don't really have the mez. New Batoon is still on it, and New Batoon known to fight this one as well. Radius goes up on it now as well. So yeah, there is no chance. Give that one up right now. You've got a good, solid team on high ground. A team that I talked about playing this for more, making a statement, really wanted to control the middle of the map. Looks like they want to make a statement on the leaderboard too. Going for the high ground, taking down Fresh offered. So Fresh, Rel, and New Batoon being pushed to the very edge right now. Their position went from being fantastic to not terrible, but definitely not the best, as Fluxy leading the front side as Radius and Slayer on the back. This is a very, very solid team.
Honestly, and the lobby should be happy that high ground team needs surge tags, so they're probably gonna have to come down Fresh though on the pepper effects. No extra heals to work with, and 17 trios alive. There is way too many players up right here. He does have to stick with his teammate, and they do end up getting with one another, so it's up to Rel and Fresh to stay alive. Back with Fizz and company though, again as a 2-man operation, working their low ground as well. So a lot of action going on everywhere right now. High ground is looking smooth right now though.
High ground looking smooth, and I'm pretty sure that active surge is maybe going down onto Spraz. I'm not entirely sure. G502 King there, also Spraz. No, it's not going down on them. We can see those big visual lightning bolts, but unfortunately, or fortunately for the players, they aren't able to see those as Oatly drops down and takes some damage. So I've got to think, who's on the low ground, who's on the mid ground like this? This is what I was looking for. Brezzo with the 3 floppers, the 15 cabbages. This is the squad that could potentially dethrone the high ground, maybe go to a heal off, or just still has the fighting power to contest them. Luna already proving proving his worth as the IGL topper I said he could be, because he's leading that trio so well right now.
And here it is. Fizz is time to clutch up, but no, they're not going to hit the shots that they need, and they're going to get taken out right before top 10, just shy of where you want to be. You really need these placement points. These are where things are going to start getting divvied out, and you can see Zidox looking for anything, and that's onto Fresh. Fresh is going to also break there. That's going to be a top 8 for him. Nubaton's still alive, though. It's not over for his trio. He's holding it down here. 4 elims so far, and that's Danathu falls to him. Okay, Nubaton holding it down for the boys here.
He is. He's doing big things right now. New pickup, has been playing with Rafael for quite a while, but hasn't really played with Fresh too much before, and he's doing big things on the low ground to clutch up solo. Still alive and took down my team, and then he finally falls in the hands of Spraz. So we've got our 4 teams left. Who is going to be able to do something? Ken, Brezzo, Luna, potentially Culture as a full trio. So we right now have 4 full trios in this one, 12 alive. This is a very, very rare sight, Monster.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like Remy's gonna, oh no, they clash and they get taken out before I can even make the call there. It's Brezzo's up above. We just asked if they would be able to stay alive, and it seems like he did. Pace as the solo gets cleaned up quick as well. And look at that. It is just clean up house for high ground now. They're raining down shots.
Yeah, right now we've got 3 teams left, 7 players here. So it looks like I think it might be a trio solo. I'm not sure, but Radius, Slayer, and Fluxy still have that advantage. Don't know if they have the heal off potential. Don't know if it'll even go to a heal off. Yes, it is. It's a 3v2v1. They need to find their way down. Luna being pinned out. Here it is. 3v2. Can Sayo and Zedox play spoiler? Can they do something from the low ground to dethrone that high ground team? Because Fluxy, Radius, and Slayer have been sitting pretty up there this entire time. And the one thing I'm noticing is very scary is they don't have the heal off advantage down there as well. So normally these games go from top down if they can't bunker up and heal off.
Yeah, the difference is, though, they have that extra set of eyes here to work with, and now already Radius looking to come down. The bounce is going to be no good. The shot is good, though, and he connects. He tries to catch him in the process. This is the final moments. This is the final call, and it should be a quick cleanup here for Sayo. There it is from the other perspective, and down he goes.
Radius, Fluxy, and Slayer taking out the dub right there. On 5 eliminations, nothing massive. Timmy talked about in the pre-show. On high ground, you usually have that good, consistent placement points, but you don't get too many eliminations, so there could be a shake-up on the leaderboard. I'm guessing that team's going to be in first place, but you never know. Anyone who got that top 3 placement, like we talked about, Monster, with maybe a few extra eliminations, can really jump ahead of them.
And the way elims work as well, 2 apiece. Let's not forget, Nubaton had 4 when we last checked in with him, and I think he was still lighting up the feed there. So maybe you'll see Fresh up there as well, because his team, Rel and Fresh, also were picking up something in those final moments.
Yeah, and I'm scared to see the rest of the lobby. I talked about it. Fluxy, Radius, and Slayer didn't really put much pressure on themselves to do well in the tournament today. They said, hey, early mid-ground, we're going to lock out the middle of the map. That's going to be where we hold it down. Anyone who goes through there, we will fight you. But then they get the high ground and they get the win already. So that gives them points that they didn't even potentially need or want as much. They're looking to make statements, but I guess showing that, hey, we are comfortable at winning the games on top of the early and mid games.
Yeah, and then, of course, you have Jinx, who didn't have Alec in that round, who didn't make it into that one either. So his trio looking rough on a contested drop spot. They didn't even have any elims coming in there, so rough for them so far.
Yeah, very rough for them so far. We'll have to see what Timmy thinks, what the analysts think, because they're going to have to break it down for us before we jump back into game 2. But an incredibly exciting game 1 that didn't go exactly how I expected either way. Vandy, break it down for us.
Thank you so much, Aussie Antics and Monster. That was an explosive game number 1. And I mean, for me personally, what really stood out for me was Storm Surge, time and time. It seems to impact how teams fare during the game. Like, if you get that advantage early on, you seem to be able to kind of carry it through to mid-game and the end. What stuck out to you guys? Can you break down the game for us?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, like you said, Storm Surge really did play a big part of how those teams were distributing mid-game there. So I'm not too sure if you guys remember, we pulled all the way top right of the map, right the way up to Steamy Stacks. And what the result of that is, Storm Surge makes people cluster towards each other because they feel like they need to do damage to one another. What then happens is that we see dead side completely dead. So teams who don't sort their surge early aren't looking for isolation. They can't find that. What are you seeing here, Fallout, that stuck out to you?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head in Storm Surge overall. And of course, as we get to the late game, you see that come into effect, right? A few of these teams are relatively new to the grand finals and the big main stage because of the new format with FNCS. The fact that teams are qualifying and are not able to play once they do qualify, that means it lays rise to new teams, new faces, which I think is amazing to give new players a chance to really shine. On the flip side, it also gives them a chance to understand the pacing, and the pacing of a grand final is so much different than the pacing of qualifiers and Cash Cup. So for that reason, I think a lot of these teams are starting to learn that what the pacing looks like and how you have to play a little more aggressive to avoid that Storm Surge. I think they'll get used to that in games 4, 5, and 6 a little bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely. As we jump on board here, we can see Alec not quite making it into the game. We saw him DC'd early, and then also Raptor doesn't make the game as well. Oatley's trio. But one thing that we got to note, it actually wasn't Rel, Fresh, and Noob who had height, Nubatun, who had height at half, who secured the win. It actually ended up being Fluxy Radius and Slayer, the team who took it from them in first moving. So that's actually not even where the exciting stuff took place. It was in the mid-ground with Brezzo, Luna, and Culture, and then Bathan, CO, Zedox, and Spraz, Pace, and Remy. That's where all the action was happening.
Yeah, of course, in Bathan, CO, and Zedix, they actually got 11th place in the last grand final, so barely did not qualify. Well, they're going to continue right where they left off with a solid second place finish right there. And I got to say, you mentioned it, but Brezzo, Culture, and their new pickup in Lunar, really solid game for them. They are a high-octane type of team. I'm excited to see what they can do, but ultimately, it was the team that held high ground most consistently last week that does it again in Team Slaya. They take a first-place finish and once again maintain high ground. But like you said, it wasn't necessarily at half. It was at first moving that they're able to retake high ground from Fresh and Co.
Mm-hmm. That was really cool to see. All right, well, while we get prepared for match number 2, let's check in with our casters. So I'm chucking you back over to Aussie Antics and Monster.
We'll happily be chucked back over to. Welcome back, guys. Yeah, I mean, as Timmy talked about it there, it is interesting. When you get those massive zone pools, you really do get those clustering of players. And I think Fallout touched on it perfectly. Just in a region, especially like OCE, which is the smallest region in the world, once you start to take those top 10 teams out, it does lay rise to new faces, which can perform well, but they might not have the same level of experience. And that's what we're kind of seeing, Monster.
Yeah, it's about clutching up, right, and trying to put it all together. And definitely pressure is real in the big stages, right? We've seen so many teams, even some of our vets that make it to the final stages and are just not what you call grand finals performers. It takes time to build that up, right? It doesn't come natural for everyone. And for some of these new pros, you have that star quality early on. And for others, it will take a little bit of time, but they're the runner-ups. They're who's
just the pressure too. If you're not used to being in set lobby fashions, when you play a normal tournament, say you have 10 games, 3 hours, like a qualifying format. If you go down, you make a mistake, you instantly reset, you get in the next game, you go again, you make up for it. It's really different when you got to sit back, you got to sit on it, you've got to think about what happened, what went wrong. Some players work really well in that. They thrive on having that mental reset and that time to think. Some players don't like it. It just gives them time to dwell on it and things just get worse and worse for them. So I'm excited to see jump back up into game number 2 as we are going to be kicking off with it right now as well to see who can back it up there. And don't worry, we're going to keep you guys updated with the leaderboard as we go tonight. Radius, Fluxy, and Slayer with that first place were able to take out first on 40 points. Danath, Osiris, and Skits might pick to do well here tonight, just saying, in second place on 37. And we have Bathan, Zedox, and Sayo also in third on 37. So we got a tie for second.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Is looking close up towards the top here, though. The battle bus is still swinging its way through. We talked about this Dirty Docks briefly in the post of the game. This time around, I do see Alec in the round. I do see Worthy already touched off in the distance there. So it's looking a lot different here at the Dirty Docks. We get a little glimpse of the drop.
Yeah, a little bit of a glimpse of what's going wrong here potentially, because last game, something happened to Alec, and it was weird to see that Jinx and Worthy had really good weapons, which makes me think they went through the usual kind of, gold inventory. You talked about it. You've got 2 upgrade NPCs here. It's a very good chance to get a lot of gold in the inventory, upgrade the weapons, buy the weapons potentially, and make big plays. So to see Alec go down, but they also did that, but they didn't have eliminations. Just, I have no idea how that came about.
Yeah, definitely was very, very interesting. And, everything matters, right? Especially when you're down a player. This is all about having those extra eyes, extra guns on deck for the Surge, too. It becomes a domino effect. It becomes a toppling effect. Here's a fight going on, though. A little bit of Camp Cod action way down south here. Seems like it's going back and forth. Bit too early to really take the gunfight, though. Look at the damage that's done to both sides.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of builds right now. Plath, I believe, is going to have to come in and maybe see what he can do with the extra materials. He's been the teammate that farmed a little bit further away and pushing in late, so that's the player you're really looking at to kind of come in and clutch things up. And unfortunately, one teammate down right now. Socha's gone down, seeing what they can make out of this one, trying to find those angles, trying to find that damage in there, and still 14 builds left, so has the advantage of the builds economy, but one player down. I think this is a pretty bad fight right now for both teams. They've got plenty of time down here to fish up and try and get their way back into this game. Zone isn't too far. They don't have to rush the fight, but at the same time, Natsu here wants to rush it, wants to jump up and find that advantage. The shots coming out as you do see the leaderboard on the left in case you missed it there. Thank you, production. Throwing that off everyone at home right now, as I believe this is a 2v1 or almost a 1v1 though, because Plath only just survived that. And the only thing with his job, Monster, no reboot station.
Yeah, none at all. And they just missed the ticker, just missed the timer. The nearest reboot station was that a rotate to Caddy and then up towards Lazy Lake or Retail Row, right? It's a pretty deep swing out and or Misty. So again, all drop spots that should be contested, but hey, game one actually didn't have anyone at Misty. So I mean, I guess maybe if they had the broadcast open or they were doing their homework in the post, they might have noticed that Misty could be uncontested. Who knows?
Yeah, at the same time, Misty's back up now. I'm going to think it's probably Repulse and stuff. It's very Repulse fashion to miss game one. Just that, I could imagine a multitude of reasons that aren't technical or have any great reason other than Repulse just missing it, as Reckless not missing his shots though. Lazy, Reckless, and Bluesy managing to win out steamy stacks here. So last game we saw it kind of broke down into a slower fight that spread out for a while. That one ended a lot faster. On the flip side, our second place team here, my pick of the night, having a much slower Sweaty Sands fight than what we saw in game number one.
Yeah, and that's because they weren't contested at the big main, so it seems like we're watching a repeat of week one. Mako, Baton, and Kuma here are going to walk up. The Mako team's rolling up real close, okay, and they're looking for the fight at the gas station. It's going to break out. High ground being held by the team Mako, and he is going to continue to hold things out. Not bad, as Osiris has to battle his way up. It's looking like a different pacing here, maybe. I don't know. Your trio might be able to do this, and yes, they are. I was about to say, our GLM team's going to be able to do big things here as well. They definitely have the advantage when it comes to fighting power, unless Team Mako can kind of stall this one out for a while, maybe get a headshot snipe, something like that. If this just comes down to a pure 3v3, mechanics on mechanics, experience on experience, Danoth, Osiris, and Skits will win this one almost every time. Skits is low, though, and that is the controller fragger, the real powerhouse of this team to do the damage, but at the same time, Danoth and Osiris definitely not ones to be slept on, as Osiris are now going for a bouncer play, trying to find something as they're really putting the pressure on in this 2v3, knowing they have the numbers advantage. No. Osiris, a huge mistake, jumping out of the box on the wood flat, spraying out his own flat. This could be the difference between them winning this tournament or losing it, as they're in second place. Danoth has to clutch up, and that's an absolute just not one you want to toss on the main screen. Yeah, no doubt about it. Those are one of the ones you want to brush under the rug and forget about it, but instead it was shown to the masses. And just like that, you'll have to live with that one, but let's see. It's only bad if GLM can't clutch up now. So it's Mako versus GLM. What team will be on top? Let's see what Botland can do here. He's again working his way around. I think he's figured out something's up. Yes, he did. But again, Dana should get the res off. Yes, he's going to be able to get this pick up.
And remember as well, Osiris is going to come back with shields because he only went down to full damage. I saw the floppers in the back pocket, so can easily eat those floppers, and there we go. We're going to be back to a pretty healthy fight here, of which Mako Botland does not have. So it's a 2v1. The reboot, though, we're trading the revive for the reboot. This is massive. I don't know if Osiris knows they're going to be going for it. They heard them run away. We'll have to watch the feed to see how that one plays out. That could have been potentially trading the revive for the double reboot, which would then swing the odds back to a 3v2 monster. It's like a chess game over at Sweaty.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be having second thoughts if the reboot gets picked up at that point, but let's not forget they only spawned in with those pistols, so it will still be a bit of a disadvantage. We'll see if they can get the act together over at Sweaty. Here, though, Tecito, Coyote, and Fly, they were a bit of a fight on the way through, but again, those are just their traditional exchanges for surge tags, not looking to overcommit to any fight here and now. Let's not forget this Hunter's Haven area is a contested draw spot, so little do they know, it probably would have been safe to battle any teams out here. But again, better safe than sorry. Not every team is looking to just pull a consistency call, right? Some players, some squads are looking to use this best practice possible and play for the highest placement possible.
Yeah, go big, go home. And you talk about that area. Every time you pull south, it is just, I know it might sound like, it might kind of sound a bit much, but at the same time, you know which teams are around you. You know that Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax are misty. You are less likely to take a fight on the south side of Hunters as the north side. Sounds crazy, but that's how much respect some of the players in this region command. And I mean, you see it on NA East as well, right? Monster, it's not just an OCE thing, as Code Russian trying to do something big here, trying to take this fight. And remember, this is the area that's usually patrolled by Slayer and Fluxy. Nowhere to be seen right now is Code Russian trying to hold down this area. And this is such an interesting one because you've got those, you've got the 0-point rocks to trying to jump around. You've got the sand to rotate. There's just a lot of mobility here, so you can take a prolonged fight and still make the rotates as you're now seeing here.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
Here's Repulse.
Yeah, he's finally in. He's getting going right here. Forbes and Tyrax on the back burner as well. And this is I'd say this is a Repulse thing to do if you've ever seen it. Like you said, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. They weren't in the round 1. Now they're definitely here in game 2. You can see just outside of Misty as well, their home territory. And they're winning this fight up against Slaya and company. Have them on the run. A good old run through the box. AR spray is going to be good enough for Repulse here to find Slaya. But the fight rages on, and he doesn't find the trio. So it might be a little bit of a slowdown for him, but the pepper effect's going to keep him active.
Yeah, and a big slowdown for our first place team. That is Slayer out of this one with Radius and Fluxy still going to try and hold this down for our first place team. And I talked about how they wanted to hold down the center of the map. Not really sure what led them to want to try and take a fight down here near Misty at the bottom of the map. So I don't know. Radius rotating away in the car and Repulse down here now taking a fight. So just not the team you want to run into when you're in first place.
For a moment there, it was really looking like he was setting up to bouncer chase. I'm like, there's no way he's going to chase this car, right?
Potentially, you can't put it past Repulse. He's the same thing. He'll play this like he'll play any other game. Cripper now here down underneath this fight, trying to do something. Got the Mando sniper rifle in the back box. Some interesting things you can do with it. But using that green lever action shotgun to try and make quick work of this fight. And that's what they're doing here. You got Rip, Cripper trying to do something together here. Trying to pin this one down. It's Fly. We saw Fly go down last game in a mid-game engagement as well. So things not going well for them. Their team on 0 points right now. Kyoto has to hold this one down, trying to get them off the donut here in game number 2.
Not looking good, though. Not looking good at all. And look, a little panic hop there is going to be, eat into the time a little bit. But okay, he does get the mini off. Now it's time to get running. And again, he gets chipped on the way out. Goes for the one pump and he finds something. But no, it's not going to be enough. Rip's going to take that one. That's a full trio wipe for them. Big elims, considering they didn't really have much coming into this fight when we saw the loadout. Here's the Repos, though. Repos still going. Oh, he's just embarrassing players at this point.
Yeah, putting on a show. And M1 is not an underrated player in OC by any means. M1 is a phenomenal player who knows how to hold his own in these kind of fights. And no, here it is, our Middle East contingent going up against someone who's on 0 ping right now, who's one of the scariest fighters in the region. Gonna drop them in if you can. Tyrax walks in the box, doesn't even care about the drop down. Repulse stepping up as well. Forbes is pretty low though. Normally that's an indicator for your team to slow down, back it up. Hey, one of our teammates is trying to med. No, normally not for Repulse. They're still gonna try and get forward in this one. But all credit to Toggle, Zwitty, and Fizz. They're holding it down right now.
Listen, Toggle, if you can hear us, just run. You are in big danger here, okay? There is too much threat nearby. Toggle, Zwitty, and Fizz now have some big pressures going on. Here it is. Repulse gets up to the layer. Now he wants to take the fight. They're already at 4 elims. He has so much heals, maxed out ammunition. This is the loadout of a champion right now, literally. Yeah, he doesn't even need it all. And look, he's going to mosh right through. Forbes is going to get traded out here. Repulse gets punished, but for what? For some elims, and they win that. No problem.
7 eliminations there. That's another trio wipe down as well. And that's the confidence of Repulse right there. He was sitting on about 120 effective health, had the minis, had the shields, had the floppers, just didn't need to use them though. Forbes pushes in, Tyrax pushes in. They miss game number 1 and they're already up to 14 elimination points here in game number 2. As you see our quick stat fly up, Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax had at least 5 elims in 7 of their 10 games from round 3. So yeah, they drop frags. And this is what I'm talking about. If you're taking a fight around Misty Meadows, you're scared that it's going to be with this team.
Hey, listen, man, we try to give the warning, but, he can only do so much here. Hope for the best of some players. Repulse is back with a vengeance. They're trying to close that gap. Cyrex, though, no elims for this trio. How's Morph rise up to be able to perform here now? Pressure, the fight back, the compact SMG, the double edit open up, and no, it's a bad trade for his duo. And one's down, second down as well. He needs to clutch this here. No, one shot short for Bailey to fall there, and Bailey will find it, will clutch up for his trio. He should be able to get the pickups as well.
Yeah, now we're shooting back into already another 3v3 engagement, and look who's on the other side of the cone is none other than Repulse, but only Prizzy and Raptor on paper going to usually put up a better fight than what I would imagine from the Middle East contingent team. Again, you never really know. All it's going to take is a good epic charge from Repulse to end this one, but already, as you can see, Oatly fighting back a little bit more aggressively, but they're finding the angles. You have Forbes sitting back, spraying on the side, Tyrax spraying on the side, and then Repulse is on the edge of the walls, playing confidently, trying to lock this one down as Oatly, Prizzy, and Raptor get the high ground, building up to try and get away from this one as Repulse's team is 2,000 above Storm Surge.
I mean, I love what Oli did there. Sometimes you got to fight fire with fire, and that's exactly what he was doing as the distraction was happening. They do control the height, but they don't do enough with it. They let the young Repulse refresh. Hold up, though. He gets punished on the way up. Maybe now it's enough. The Harpoon comes out, too. There might be someone in the box. Repulse is on the run here.
And Repulse is on the run, which is not usually. He's probably going to try and find back, see if he can find some meds and push back into this fight here. But this is such an interesting zone too, Mon. So we've seen constant action, constant fighting, but pacing into the end game. Look at this zone. Half of it is in the water right now. And if you're following any of kind of, you know, the main theories out there right now about rotations and zone positioning, that normally means because zone's going to keep pulling max, which is not going to be good for a lot of teams. But these teams are in the center right now. They've got the green light to fight as Oatly goes down. Prizzy is almost down. Raptor is just playing for his life as Repulse's team is about to take their third full trio wipe before third zone.
Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. Tyrax is on fire right now. He's literally connecting with everything. He's also pound for pound matched the elims here. 4 for him as well. That's 8 for the trio. Who's going to be able to walk away with this one? It's a race for it. Repulse eats the first big shot. Remember, you don't want to get thirsted out now. Raptor's still putting up a big fight here, but out of eliminations or out of material is what I should be saying, but Prizzy not too. So communications coming from Prizzy here are probably still enough for him to at least know something is possible.
Something is possible. Now it's Rel, Nubatoon, and Fresh set up here as well, which now is usually the pacing. As you can see, the amount of players that are now making it into this rotate, making it onto this edge. This is when you'll see teams like Repulse with that insane aggression. Even they will begin to slow down. You'd imagine, because there's so many eyes on them right now, this isn't a fair fight anymore. You can't kind of flex your mechanics. You can't go for a lot of wall replaces and fancy edits because you're going to get lobby focused. So teams like this right now, Pace, Remy, inside these full build structures can still do that because they're not out in the open. They're not as visible as Remy, Pace, and Spraz try to get more than their first elimination on the board. 26 points here, not too bad, but this zone is going to be an interesting one. It's already pulled far, far southwest, which is the exact opposite to what we saw last game with the northeast, but there's mountains in this zone and there's water. This is a far, far more dangerous zone than last game.
Yeah, and just with the distance that the zone's pulled, you know, the teams aren't even set up to actually third party, and that's why these trios are just having a ball, literally fighting on the edge of zone where otherwise it'd be such a huge risk. It's only now teams are starting to touch down, and even then 50 seconds on the clock here for the rest to get in. If you just glance at the map down there, you can see there are, 3 trios at that North Mountain that still haven't crossed on over, so there are plenty of teams still needing to traverse this distance here. Slowing things down, though. Back to reality here for Brezzo and company. You can see not everyone's on a box-to-box fight. Some players are just playing for the key positioning, like this squad right here.
Yeah, some of the teams having to play for positioning. That's what they got to do, try and get their points up right now as this team is on 0 points here. Good loadout, though. See that epical tax shotgun as there we go. Repulse, Tyrax, and Forbes. Gods can bleed. Repulse God himself has fallen in this lobby, and that is a very big sigh of relief from the lobby there. And it is at the hands of none other than Rel, Fresh, and Nubatoon. I don't know whether they got the eliminations or whether they just finished up the knocks, but either way, they have taken them down here, and that's what I talked about. If you play too aggressive in these parts of the games, it's when you get lobby focused, and that's where your skill goes down. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're getting shot at by 10 different players, there's not much you can really do at the end of the day.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's going to be the second elim for Nubatoon and his trio there. So pretty big for them. Again, refreshers are so welcomed, especially when you come to these mountainous terrains, right? These big mountain territories. You know it's going to go up or it's going to go way on down. Either which way, it's going to cost you a lot of material in the process. Here it is. This Harpoon's going to be clutch right now. Few shots left in it, but sitting on an excess amount of material now because they do get to successfully pull stuff up. Here it is. Look at the refresh for all of them. Fresh is going to be completely maxed out now on the material count. He's got extra big shields as well. So again, these elims are massive for them right now. Great position to be in.
great position to be in that big win condition on Fresh. That epic tactical shotgun, epical shotgun if you want to call it as well. It is the win condition for Fresh. He has some of the best tack aim, not just in OCE, but in the world in general. And that's where he can really make big plays. And that's where they can really pop off. I saw Rel also had the epic charge there. I think Nubatoon did as well, as Nunca now getting a knock onto Reckless, which is a fight we've seen breaking down a lot up near Steamy. And that would have been a tough rotate from them. Steamy stacks all the way down past Misty. They had the hardest rotate on the map, and it looks like things didn't end the best for them. But with zones like that, maybe a bit more luck next game. They made their game 1 count when they got zone, game 2 going against them. But yeah, this is looking like a beautiful position of Fresh to be in. I want to see how our second place team is doing as well. It looks like Daneth and that should still be in this one, I believe, out of Sweaty, but I don't know. If not, Bath and Zedox and Sayo, we just got an eye on as well, looking really, really good, tied for second as well, because first place went down very early at the hands of Repulse.
Yeah, they're down. They're not going to be earning anything this time around. And honestly, it was only a 3-point spread, right, between first and second. And then, of course, the neck and neck tied up for Bathan, Zedox, and Sayo there from Team GLM. So very, very close overall for the top 3 standing so far. Other teams still in this, I guess, the fight, right, for the top is Brezzo. We saw Brezzo and company. They didn't have any elims, but they were sitting comfortable on high ground. We're asking about their elim situation. Look at this. They do manage to find 3, or they have managed to find 3.
Nice.
Because of that, they are in the lead right now.
Yeah, they're in first place right now. It's going to be a battle between Daneth and Bathan here as well. Their squads, because seeing they went into this game on the same amount of points, so it's going to come down to those eliminations. Who can survive as we get our half-half zone, and that is such a difficult half-half. It's not up the mountain, which is good at least. A lot of these teams have to come down, but it's just so far away. This half-half can't be any further off the map. A quarter of it at least is already in the water as well. So this endgame, if it starts pulling north or northeast up all this terrain monster, it's going to be terrible. And if it pulls south or southwest, it's going to go across the water, which is also terrible. So you're getting the picture I'm painting. Rock, hard place, this lobby is between it.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see fights are going down everywhere still in the process. In the meantime, it's surge after surge battle, and still 2 players have to go down before the threat is gone. Nonetheless, though, you can see most of the lobby has managed to migrate across, those balancers being the key positioning tool here to get across. Honestly, with how high the terrain is, with how steep the mountain is, those bouncers, you get a lot of value for them here. And now, with Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, Alec down again this time around. So, okay, at least he managed to get an Elam this time here. Obviously having an unfortunate game 1. Not looking like a great game 2 for the champs, though.
I think if I'm gauging this right, I have heard from the back of house that it looks like Alec has now disconnected this game as well. So having some big issues there, which is weird because a player that doesn't normally have connection issues, Worthy and Jinx still having a good time with it, still hopefully going to rely on series points. Or, I mean, that team could essentially come top 10 with 2 games. So with 4 still, we see how we'll go after this, 3 after this one as well. Potentially might be able to do something. So I'm not entirely sure whether we can count them out just yet. But here we see Brezzo, Luna, and Culture. They're doing well on the low ground here. Luna leading his team incredibly well in game number 1, seeing if he can do it on game number 2. And we haven't really seen a team solidify the low ground, as that's going to be incredibly hard to do here, as this zone is going to keep pulling up this mountain. And as you know, Sundown would always say, Monster, old mountain will take his toll. And if you're trying to play the low ground, constantly being forced in the layers above you, it's going to be pretty hectic. Whoever's on high ground right now, and here it is, Fresh, Nubatoon, and Rel have a ridiculous advantage. This was 100% big brain Rel making big brain moves and securing high ground for this team.
Not to mention the harpoon played a key factor in them having all the hard material that they would have needed. And now Rel's going to reconnect to the building that was just nearby. All that structure is going to be the perfect infrastructure to lean onto. Look at that. Rel leading the rotate here, being in front, like you mentioned. He's going to be the glue to this team. And again, just the icing on the cake for this trio here. Paired up with Nubatoon, they know what they're doing. Fresh just really mingling well right now. Honestly, they're doing pretty solid. 27 points so far. Continues to keep them in the top 10 here. These 2 Elims are great, just picking apart what they can, where they can. Rel's going to find another one now. High ground hold. Great here.
Look how confident Rel is. He has the RPG, he has the rocket launcher in the back pocket. He's not even using it to apply the pressure on those teams below like you would normally expect. He's already holding onto it to secure high ground. That's what he wants. He doesn't want the elims with it right now. He wants to use those 6 rockets to suppress anyone. Because now, where does the next rotating zone go? And look how fast this lobby is clearing out now coming up this mountain. It is such a hard rotate because of things like this. You're being pushed up, you're having to break your way up, and you have a team on high ground who has fantastic aim, knows how to apply the pressure, and has an RPG spare if they need to use it.
Yeah, no doubt, but respect to Jinx here, of course, and Worthy making their way up that mountain and stealing away placement point, because now they are in top 10, even as a duo, even losing Alec 2 games in a row, putting in so much work, but on high ground, more loot comes in, the re-pressure to keep him completely capped off, and now the RPG pressure, like you mentioned, it's going to be perfect for keeping second height under serious turmoil, and there it is, they're going to force them all down to low ground.
Not that I think it's going to go to a heal-off, because with the zone pulling up the mountain like this, everyone's been forced to fight each other. Jinx is now fighting. You just saw Spraz go down. You saw Remy go down. Jinx is down here. Nothing you can do. Worthy's battling his way up. This is telling the story you need to be told. This is why I don't think it's going to go to a heal-off, because that's what this entire rotators look like. Compare the high ground right now, sitting down, looking pretty, feeling the breeze in your hair, compared to the battle that's going on down here. And I don't know. I don't see how anyone can beat Rel Fresh and Nubatoon in this game. Rel even has the 6 chug splashes if by some miracle it goes to a heal off.
Listen, Nubatoon put the squad on his back last round and stole away the points to make them a top 10 hold. And now Rel, Fresh, and company, of course, are rounding things out and saying, hey, you got us up here, but we're here to hold it together. This should be a breeze of a win for them, especially with the win conditions that they have. Power shotguns, RPGs, everything that they could ask for. And honestly, the low ground, they're scrapping it out. They're not going to have much because of all the climbing that they did. So this rocket launcher is about to be unleashed soon.
It is going to be unleashed soon. And look at that. They're handing all the heal off to Rel. So unless Rel makes a big mistake here, there is no way they lose this one. But also, a lot of these teams on the low ground, Raikou, this one being the only team that came into this game inside the top 5. So they're looking really, really good to jump up themselves on the leaderboard. But it is going to be the story of Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon. How many points can they get? How much of an advantage can they jump up on the lobby? And there it is, the Rockets. Fresh spraying down. He still has the AR ammo. The fights break down. Scammed. Raikou toe-to-toe. They just lose that one. Coming in third, that's where the big placement points is. And Go Egg right now trying to do something big. He's already done enough. He's secured second place. There's no way he's going to beat the high ground team. Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon jumping up to 71 points with what I think is a 9 elimination win. That is huge.
Yeah, a little 9 Elim dub, and Fresh is going to go and hit the dance move on the high ground. And there you guys have it, taking second to none. A big win for them. Huge dubski there. Taking a win in the qualifying week is pretty nice.
Yeah, and you talked about he's a hybrid player earlier, obviously big content creator, arguably the biggest name in OCE, and that puts a big target on, that puts the pressure on them. Fresh, obviously focusing on the content, still always playing the competitive side. And when they didn't make round 4 last week, that was really the only massive notable upset of a team not making it to round 4. They make it to round 4 here this week. I talked about a bit of turmoil yesterday. Clearly they've dusted it off. And the thing to know about this team, specifically Nubatoon as a player, he's a momentum player. When he's hot, he will keep going red hot. When things go bad, that's where it breaks down a little bit. So we'll see. Analysts, do you guys agree with me? Vandy, what are your thoughts? Because that was a red hot game number 2.
That was a spicy game, as we like to say. So congrats, of course, to Fresh, Nubatoon, and Rel holding that high ground and just dancing to victory, it felt like. That was really cool to see. But my question on the game, or to the analysts at least, we saw another zone that pulled really, really far. Timmy, how do you deal with that as a team? Because this is the second time now that that's happened.
Yeah, so I think one thing that's really important to note is that it's really, really important for people with IGLs in this game to be proactive. You have to look to rotate early when a zone pulls that far. Unfortunately, as we go through the highlights, we're going to see Alec disconnects throughout this game, but Fallout, walk me through what we're seeing here.
Yeah, the early game, well, it was really the Repulse Inco show as Repulse Tyrax Inco just absolutely W-keyed everyone that they saw. We'll see that pop up on the screen here in a moment. Of course, early game, we did see a little bit of an engagement between these two teams. Daneth and Co., who was the prediction for Aussie, able to get the pick on the reboot. Make sure to let him know he took the L right after. But this is where it really became a running rampage or a running montage for Repulse, Tyrax, and Forbes. They just started flying. I think they had something like 8 or 9 elims at the mid-game, and before the second circle, it was insane, Timmy.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And it goes to show that skill gap that Ozzy mentioned before. The best players in this region do tend to have that gap on all the others. And one team that I'm really looking forward to watching a bit more of is this team on screen right here, Luna, Culture, and Brezzo. And the reason I'm really interested in watching them is that they've picked up a really, really good IGL in Luna. Someone who understands how to play mid-game, someone who understands how to play mid-ground, and from there can lead them on through the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's right. They had a really, really good game one. They got taken out a little bit early in that late game in game number two, but I completely agree. You got to keep an eye out for them. And then, of course, we saw as the late game contested, this is an interesting fight. This is a situation where you have to be vertically aware, given the fact that we're pulled towards the southwest. Anytime you see a southwest or southeast zone, you know that verticality is going to come into effect. And in the end, it was Fresh, Nubatun, and Rel who did such a good job holding high ground. It's exactly what we'd expect out of Fresh with all the experience he has. And Rel, one of the most experienced players, has been doing it for a long time. Of course, playing alongside Nubatun, who's been fragging out and absolutely slaying. Really, really solid game for them, Vandy.
It was indeed. I mean, as I was saying, it's kind of interesting because we didn't get to see Fresh's squad in week number one. That was kind of a little bit of that upset because they weren't able to participate. But to see them really coming back in week two was really lovely to see. And I mean, let's go through these standings and how we currently are going off the back of that. Timmy, do you want to kind of take us through?
Yeah, so as we saw, Raul, Fresh, and Noob in first with the 28 Elam points. That's huge. And that win there with 9 Elams on height. You don't see that many Elams on height usually. So really, really good game for them there, taking the 30 points for the win, plus the 18 for the Elams. People I'd like to shout out on here as well, Zans, Oreo, and Raikou in third. They popped out with a really nice game. Some really nice mid-ground play as well. And then, of course, Bathan, Zedox, and Seo in fourth. Consistent trio through the mid-ground. Awesome to see.
Yeah, and then you'll see at the bottom there, Goeg and Co. as well. They are so good in situations. I think Scammed is on that team. So good in situations where there is verticality. One of the most vertically aware teams. So kudos to them. They've been placing consistent. That's the squad in sixth place we've been talking quite a bit about. It's Brezzo, Lunar, and then, of course, their third, which is Culture is their third. And ignore that gamer tag that you see on screen. They've been fragging out. 20 eliminations total for them, which is much higher than the team right behind them, Slaya, Flexi, and Radius. A little bit lower than the Elams. They're known to play heavy placement. Very, very good at holding high ground and getting victory royales. But we say it often, victory royales might win you a game, but it's mid-ground or high ground that wins you games. It's mid-ground and the ability to frag out that wins you championships or overall tournament wins. And that's why I want to see Slaya and Co. be able to play a little bit more mid-ground, just because a couple of wins here and there won't necessarily do it for you, as we saw last week for them.
That's it, right, guys? So that's already going to be game number two. So game number three, we've got right around the corner. I think everyone's going to keep an eye out on this squad, on the Lunar squad, just to see how they sort of creep on the leaderboard, but also Fresher squad, now that they're alive, well, warmed up, wondering whether they can pull out another one. But let's jump back over to our casters. Match number three is not too far away. Take it away, Ozzy.
Thank you so much, Vandy. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's going to be interesting because that was an insanely dominant game, and I don't want to take it away from them at all, but we talked about it, Monster. That was such a ridiculous game, and I called whoever's on high ground right now is almost definitely going to win this game, and that's on the back of really, really smart decisions from Rel. But can they get another zone where they have that big of an advantage, or can they put themselves in that position again? I just don't know. I won't be surprised if they do, but I also won't be surprised if they don't.
Hey, and that was 2 games that they actually had great zones. Let's not forget, game 1, they had a solid take on the half in, half out. And then, of course, game 2, even better take, right? The craziest zone you can ask for verticality-wise. Whoa, that was a hard word to hit there for a second. But you know what I mean? High ground. It's tough, dude. It is late. They had the zone that they needed.
Yeah, they had the zone they needed. But again, you're right. 2 games in a row. I kind of discounted that game number 1. They set up on half-half. They got their first rotating zone. That's what they needed. Can they do it 3 games in a row? I want to see what they can do. If not, but the leaderboard's looking good. They've pulled ahead a little bit, but how tight is it from there down? So 71 points for first. But then between 2nd and 5th is only separated by 4 points. That's 2 eliminations separating 4 teams. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, last week we saw, of course, a team break away and take the competition by storm with a nice, healthy lead and never looking back. We're seeing the same now from Fresh, Rel, and Nubatun. If they can continue this hold here, they will be smooth sailing. What's it, like a triple-digit point cutoff, right? They're 1 good game, I'd say, away from probably qualifying their way through all the way here now. At 71 points, they're so comfortable. just nearby, though. They have holly hedges to themselves. Look at the map here. What a wide split. And they get rainbow rentals down low. So not only that, the Viking Island, right? The Viking village, I'd say. The ship just west here on the coast. And rainbow rentals. What a ridiculous drop spot.
Yeah, there's been a bit of excitement in OCE too, because the only team that was really looking to contest them was none other than Fresh's good friend Lockie, paired up with Carry-On, which is his old trio mate, and McCreamy. So kind of two content creators there with the pro player. It was exciting. There was a lot of beef going down on social media. It was all very exciting. But yeah, when it comes down to it, they've had Holly Hedges to themselves for quite a few weeks now, because this is the first season in quite a while where Fresh has really stepped up and been taking scrims really seriously. And as you know, Monster, like any region with an active scrim and an active practice server, if you kind of play those practices regularly and you hold down your drop spot, you don't let anyone else practice dropping there or kind of landing on you, you then hold it down going into tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. You get to really alpha up and almost secure your way through the grands, right? And get yourself a nice comfortable position. And we already know that if you're uncontested, you're going to have a good time in grands. It all comes down to that loot and being, again, comfortable, right? Happy and content to take all your battles. Here's a quick stat for you, though. Craggy Clips has produced the most victories of any POI in all regions. Macwood, you're going to be salty they dropped that one. He's been trying to, throw out the, I'd say distraction tweets, right? Like, hey, you guys talk about my drop, but what about Dirty Dots? You know what I mean? Trying to toss it out there.
Everyone loves it. You've always got to convince everyone else that someone else's drop is better than yours. And yes, Craggy's a very solid drop, and you notice right there, it's because of that fish sticks as we tune into a drop that no one argues is not a strong drop right here. Is Alec trying to fight their way in this one. Alec finds the angles. He's loaded into this game. He's loaded and he's ready to go, and that's 3 eliminations, the full trio wipe. And this is what we talked about, Monster. They only really need a few good games for this team to get top 10. And even then, we're talking about Alec not playing with them. As a duo, Jinx and Worthy have basically secured 46 points, putting them at this point effectively in the top 10 quite comfortably.
And this is why we say, like, the top of the top is, there's such a gap between the exceptional elite at the top in OCE, and then those that are just playing catch up at this point. And, again, that trio there being the star-studded version of that. Even as a two-man, they operate so well. I mean, Alex probably having some serious internet problems right now. I think Jinx just got the upgrade, right? We were just talking about earlier. Yep. So he's big vibing, I guess it doesn't hurt that he's got the carry.
Yeah, he's got the carry as well right now. This is a fight. Interesting to see this one. Skids of the team's being aggroed on right now. This is a fight I'm personally invested in. I picked a dark horse once. I wanted to have a bit of fun with OCE, maybe not pick one of the favorite teams. Pick a team that not a lot of people have thought about, and they're in second place for a reason, 53 points, and they need to win this fight against Squad Mako. As we saw it, Vandy was talking about a little bit earlier, the Street Fighter collaboration with Fortnite being brought out here, as we're seeing one of the skins featured up on top of the Sweaty Sands Hotel, as Osiris's team choosing to drop down and maybe favoring a bit more of a box fight engagement. But I'm only seeing Osiris and Skits. I'm not seeing Daneth at all right now. And yes, there it is. Maybe another connection issue. That's not a player down. That's a player not connecting.
Yeah, this is a rough situation to be in, especially as a two-man now and a contested drop every round here, though. Tex on the other side having a hard time over in the Weeping. It's not looking good for him. Their whole trio's down out of shields.
Whole team out of shields. An interesting spot to fight as we see Goeg, Zalka, and Scammed, a team that did very well last game, doing very well here to try and close this one out, and they've got all the angles pinched. Goeg has so much spare shield, so does Zalka. They have so much loot to their name right here, and they want to take this fight on a team that is sitting a lot more shambles around the edges, and it's on the back of their drop spot. They do have a very superior drop spot in this area to get all this loot, to try and make something happen. But Prizzy's team sitting inside Slurpee, probably hearing this one, not taking too many eyes at it, just kind of letting this one play its way out, and I think it's going to end pretty shortly.
Yeah, Goeg did get that second place in the last round, did clutch up for his squad mates, and there goes one of the 3 down. And no, actually, I lied. They're all down. Things are just catching up now. Ooh, the dancing snipe, though, that comes in. Okay, almost eats it. A little bit of karma coming in there, saying, slow down now. Make sure you guys put in the defense. Almost gets taken out. Look at this fight, though.
Yeah, this is the 2v3, but also looking like a 2v2. I don't know where our third Mako contingent is right now. Maybe sitting above, maybe holding the angles from above as Osiris gets pushing inside the dance floor, seeing what they can do. And that makes so much more sense now why they were kind of not hiding in the hotel, but really trying to enforce this one. There it is. No, it is the full trio. They're playing this so smart. They're trying to make it a box fight, get someone on the wall. Maybe they can edit out. Maybe they can box him, try and find something here because they have the numbers disadvantage. And based on the movement and the plays by Team Mako, you can tell they know it as well.
Yeah, I think they figured it out, right? They're just seeing two. They see the passive play. This is a lot different of a cadence than the first two games that they've seen. This is the third time now they get to take this clash and engagement. They haven't been successful up until this point. Now, Team Mako, if they lose this, I think it's safe to say your boys are the kings of sweaty. There's no reason for them to take this L right now, but it still is going to come down a matter of clutching up. Let's see what the Mako boys can do here. Skit's going to find a shot on the other side. Okay, punishment for both, though. Pretty good so far.
Yeah, Skits also has the minis and the slurpfish, so choosing to eat the slurpfish first rather than the mini didn't really have as much pressure on the time there, but they've got the med advantage right now here. They really are looking a lot healthier than this Mako team, who's pushing in pretty aggressively. We do see there they have a little bit extra as we tune back in towards Slurpee. Never mind, back at Sweaty. And Osiris and Skits need to do something big because they have zone, though. They have zone. They have time. Skits making the big play. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. Timmy touched on it. The reason I picked them, Skits, a very, very aggressive controller player on the come up, coming off that console track, now playing on PC and really proving he can hang with the best of the best. As Osiris also having been around for such a long time. Timmy shouted them out. They're two of the hardest working players in the region. This trio definitely looking to make big things happen. Unfortunate circumstances of this fight, but still maybe not proving that, hey, this would add insult to injury, salt in the wounds. Hey, as a duo, we can still beat you at this drop spot.
Yeah, and they're taking us to the storm at this point. They don't really care. He does have the floppers or the small fry as well and the surface to play off of. So much heals. Meg kits as well. They definitely have the advantage to play into here. It looks like one of the trios there are going to go in and pop the Meg kit on the enemy Mako trio. So all of a sudden now, both sides are digging into these heals. Osiris on high ground, though, should be vibing. He also has just a low profile, right? Skits is probably going to be the bait here for the fight. And now, no, he's going to swing around, gets his trio mate, or I should say his duo mate in this instance, just vibe out on height.
Got the med kits as well, and there's usually vehicles that spawn, especially on that parking lot to the east of this drop spot. So Osiris pushing back here, maybe looking for a vehicle, maybe looking for something here. Looking at the team's got bandies now as well, so they've got very superior white meds, and they're happy to stalemate this one out. This team is very secure in top 10. They're in second place for a reason. They don't need this fight as badly as what Team Mako does, so maybe trying to make a statement as bot lane pushing across, running out of white heals, and they must be sensing this. They can sense the desperation, same as you can kind of feel it when a team's struggling for surges. Osiris just drops down, and bot lane has really only got 22 more seconds to make this fight.
Yeah, and he's trying to swing around. He was trying to cut him off, but no, Osiris is just a little bit smarter ahead of him on this one. Skit's going to find some major cracks here. Yes, those are great shots. No shield now. And again, HP is ticking here. They are running out of time. They know Skits is on height, so with the limited mats that they had too, they're not going to cross out as they were going to do before. They have to get to the beach. They have to get to the campfires.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I see them using bandages right now. I think that's why Osiris pushed across. He took one of the stacks of bandages on the roof. He has a med kit down there, so Skits' team 100% has the white health advantage. We talk about that. It's not shield, that's healing up to the zone damage as we're tuning in now with Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax still trying to run through teams. But again, they've ran into a team that's going to be quite scary. Spraz, Pace, and Remy are a very good fighting team. Never mind. Spraz just got clipped by Repulse the half a second that I said that.
Oh, and Repulse almost caught the follow-up right after that as well. Big 132 shot. Tyrax is going to be able to walk in, no problem here. And, you know,
I mean it when I said it. That team is a good fighting team. Don't think they're not just because of what you witnessed. I know a lot of people around the world looking at this. OCE has their first official broadcast. This is your first time to watch some of these players. Don't think any less of Remy's team. Just think even more of Repulse's.
That's a good point. That is a good point. You have to put respect on these players. And again, when you see someone embarrass someone else like that, like, you know, it reminds me of how Reet puts people in a box, dude, on different regions. And it's not like they're bad players. Just Reet is, you know, he's an exception. He's in a different caliber. You know, sometimes Repost and company, hey, listen, they get, when they get going, they get going.
Yeah, as we see the team get going well here. Fresh's team coming out of Holly, looking really good. I talked about the win condition from Fresh, having the epic tactical shotgun. Now we have the legendary tactical shotgun, so looking even better there. As right now we have Steve-O making the rotation in the taxi down the side of this mountain. It's good. No fall damage in that one right now, so they're going to keep rotating around the edges on a good side of zone. We have our RPG team, and this is going to be interesting to see. It's a team that I am happy to admit I don't know as much about. Know a fair bit about Steve-O as a player. Rylan and Reese, not as much, but having the RPG. Excited to see what they can do as we go back to our Sweaty Sands fight. Skits and Osiris. Apparently, Team Mako found some white meds from somewhere. I don't know. But Osiris and Skits have identified that one of the players is split right now. Good shots onto Osiris, but takes them down. Good thing about that is going to be it's going to be extra Siphon now too. We finally have our 2v2, the numbers advantage, but no builds on Osiris. And you can tell right now, big charge shots. Osiris steps around the corner, goes down here. Kuma trying to get the finish. Skits is there too, but Skits has no heals. And Team Mako just wins it, but they should have won that one way more convincingly with a whole extra player.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, with how late the zone is, like, was it worth it? We'll find out in game 4. Tune in later, guys. Back to the other side of the map, though. We have this fight going down. TKL and Spies Natsu here trying to work together. So the duo of TKL, Plath and Soch here, just getting their heels on, trying to bounce back from what looks like a weird situation going down. And okay, Tyrax, okay, they get rolled up on a fresh trio, but Tyrax is still putting up a good fight.
Tyrax put up a good fight, and obviously he's in a bit of the shadow of Repulse and Form, especially when it comes to fighting skills, but Tyrax is no one to scoff at. Phenomenal player, did really, really well during both solo FNCSs, kind of made a name for himself out of nowhere there, and now he's been massively grinding it out, and this is what you're going to see right here. Going to turn that one around, takes him down, needs to hit one more charge shot, can't hit it. This player's got very good movement. Tyrax around the corner, has the minis, has the bigs. That charge shotgun with the Epic AR is such a lethal combo, as Cripper here is going to met up. Tyrax is going to met up, and honestly, my money's on Tyrax here, but Cripper has the exact same loot and also has the white heal advantage with the cabbages and the splashes. Tyrax coming in, and Cripper wins it. Cripper proving me wrong. Tyrax, Repulse God, and Forbes have gone down again. They took one fight too many.
Yeah, that was so close, though. What a clutch and crucial shot by Tyrax there. The Siphon left him at 54 HP, so the Siphon gives you 50. That was a 4 HP Siphon tag to stay alive in the zone. You know, keeping it excited for us, keeping it nice and close. Crippa is going to be the best one, though, in this situation here. I'm not sure if he got to pick up the reboot. He should have. He should have the cards in hand. There is some places to pick up here. If he goes north of Coliseum or towards the Salty Towers, we'll see. On the other side, though, Steve-O, Rice and Ryland, this is their game right now. 6 elims means that they have picked up basically all the points so far that they've made in this tournament in this game alone. And they do have that RPG. So if there's a time to make a statement, it's here. It's now. It's when you have that power loot and the elims to back it up.
Yeah, when we saw last week in the OCE qualifier, one good game was enough with 30 points for the win, each elim worth 2. So that means a 10 elim win, which is not unheard of. That's 50 points. That is a massive swing on the leaderboard. That is enough to secure a top 10 in a lot of ways unless you've had an absolutely abhorrent tournament for the rest of the other 5 games. So you can really jump up in one game, and that's why some people are either loving or hating the format for certain reasons. And the teams that usually have those big games, they tend to love it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But again, you don't really want to depend on the one big game, right? It's very rare that you're going to be the guy that just clutches up when you want to, when you need to. That's why it's so impressive when a team can and does. Ultimately, though, we spoke about the Mako boys of whether or not that fight was worth it. You can see now they are still in the zone during the 2-tick. Not to mention after this is a 5-tick, and they barely have heals. Yeah. They have a vehicle, though. I was going to say, why is he not in the car healing? I didn't know, but
I think they were swapping the bandies, and it's good. Obviously, they're swapping out. I was thinking of that as well. That part of the map, good for sanitating, good for crystals, but you can't med while doing that. But they're actually very efficiently swapping who's driving, who's passenger, using the bandages while the other one drives. And well, here you go. You see them coming in, and they're actually getting in on not the worst part of zone mod. So if they can kind of come up that little ridge, you see them on the left there with this beautiful map perspective. You see the steering wheel. That's them coming straight in, but I see shots being taken on them from Radius's team, that purple line, and now they've also alerted another team. I see those triple arrows right next to him, focusing on them here, as we do see Luna, Brezzo, and Culture in a good position of this part of zone. But this map right now, this zone is heavily favored towards our FNCS champions, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, who also got that clean trio wipe on spawn. So not only did they get zone, they didn't have to worry about their surge once they got it.
Yeah, definitely. And this game is going just up the alleyway of Ryland and company. You can see they're taking another fight. Remember, we talked about that. If they can get these elims, but more importantly, secure an endgame, they will be very much back on pace to go ahead and qualify their way through for a top 10. All the teams here today are not qualified, guys. If you qualify, you do not get to play in the other qualifying rounds. That's why it's either very crucial that you make it through or crucial that you just have fun with your weeks and lead up. We've seen a little bit of everything coming through, different strategies from different teams. But so far, for teams like Ryland, I mean, they're having a rough time. So they want to look to pop off.
Yeah, they are having a bit of a rough time with it as well. You need to have those big games to jump up now. And this zone is not a great one. Again, it's not terrible. There is quite a lot of elevation outside dirty. You have the potential, if we get max pull zones, to go to a bit of water as well, but not as difficult as the last one, as Luna using that bounce pad to make this rotate, push them right onto the edge. And for anyone playing at home or anyone watching at home who is a competitive player, this is the zone you want to stay on the edge of. Luna has put this team in a very, very good spot. Before this, center zone is fantastic. First, second, third, center zone is great. It almost guarantees you the next zone, lets you rotate to it. Fourth zone, though, coming into fifth zone, that's our half-half zone, where it has to go half out into the storm and half into the existing zone, which means that if you're in the center, it's the only spot to guarantee you don't get it. So Luna's team hoping they get it up here on the edge. If they don't, they have that elevation. They can bounce pad potentially again down the hill, make that gap. So I really like the positioning from that team.
Yeah, definitely. That natural terrain is going to be huge for them. It's going to play out perfectly. And look at the zone. Everyone's up here. They're all trying to hold a little piece of high ground if they can. The only teams down low are the ones that were there because they just so happen to be there on the late rotates. Here's a team that is 250 damage below. Oh, for a second there, as things are catching up, I thought they had a big problem in front of them, but no, they're sitting on so much loot here. It seems like this is a fresh trio wipe up. I'm looking for, for a second, I was looking around to see if I saw an RPG of whether or not they took out Rylan and company, but no, I think they're okay.
Yeah, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy looking good on loot, positioning, surge, just everything you could want from them. Again, this team, when they're in a good position, they usually capitalize. If you see them get half-half or potentially first rotating, things are going to look really, really good. And the leaderboard is going to change up very, very quickly as Oreo getting a knock. Raikou, Zans, and Oreo on 52 points, doing really well. I'd like to remind everyone at home, last week, qualification to get in the top 10 was around that low 80-point mark. So any team that's at 50 points so far coming into this game number 3, that is under the halfway mark, and they are well and truly over the halfway mark to qualify. So things looking really good for those teams as we tune into our first place team, which means that if you're a fresh fan, if you're part of the Pickle Gang, there is a good chance he is going to be going through straight into heats today, unless they have an absolute shocker of their final games.
Yeah, they need to literally not earn any points in order to not call it at this point. And I mean, this game's looking rough, so it's not, you can't count them out just yet. I mean, the medium ammo, not any to work with, honestly, for Fresh when we tune in. Nubatoon, don't know what his situation is. And Rel probably in the same boat, considering they haven't split. But here now, GLM's Oreo, Raikou, Zans. They've been having quite the run so far. A couple great games they've been able to put up. And no, Brezzo falls. And it looks like he fell to the Surge there as well. Yep. Was it the Surge or
it was
Snipe
Surge
shot?
And Surge and Culture still going down as well. I talked about all the rotates, but unfortunately didn't get their Storm Surge in the mid game. So it doesn't matter where they position in the end game. Unfortunately, they are going to go down there. A little bit of a misplay on that team, but they can hit the books. They'll come back in next game and sort that one out as Nubatoon, Rel, and Fresh looking pretty good. They're about 200 up as we see our escape team here. ESC right now 61 above, so they're looking way close on the Surge. Maybe need to get a bit more damage as the active goes away, but we saw it last game. Last game was the game we didn't see a monster. No active Surge on rotating zones, but that's usually because of the mountain. We'll probably get active Surge here on rotating zones, so everyone's got to be active and do some damage here.
Yeah, it's very possible the Surge will come back online. Here, though, everyone's making a move down. 20 seconds remaining in order to get to the save zone. You can see players knocked and left behind in the storm line. ESC trio, though, working together with one another. On the other side is Rel, Fresh, Nubatoon that seem pretty spaced out. I'm assuming they have a nice hold here somewhere in front of them. Rel still trying to inch his way in here into the new save zone. And finally, the trio comes in too.
Nunca, Chains, and Grav trying to find some damage in here. Look at the loadout as well. They're looking so good on firepower, meds, Harpoon for the utility. The only thing I think maybe slipping on that team is the material. As Nubatoon now using the one big pod that he has left as well here to try and make this one. This is a far zone. We talked about at the start, right, Monster? Last time they set themselves up great for both rotating zones. A little bit of luck. This time the luck goes against them as our power-worthy Jinx and Alec are kind of making their own luck with this one as they've now gotten on top of the indestructible antenna, whatever you want to call it. This is the best spot, I would argue, on almost the entire map to be Monster on rotating zones. It is one of very few things in Fortnite that just cannot be broken.
Yeah, not only that, it's just hard to get shots on as well. It's almost impossible to build up to unless you have everyone working in sheer force. Let's not forget they have an exit plan as well. They can use the zip lines and many other routes on down. But here, though, Worthy's just going to go ahead and cut off the opponent. Not only that, but connect up too. So now, fully based up here, plenty of ammunition to work with as well. This should be a firing range for the trio champs, and it should be a quick wrap up for them from up above. They have those upgraded assault rifles. That's the place to be here.
Yeah, it's very rare that you can be that confident in a team that once they're on high ground like that, they're probably not going to lose it, but you can really put a lot of faith in Jinx, Alec, and Worthy as a full trio to close this one out. And here it is. This is what we were looking for. This is why 2 of the 4 of us predicted here today that they would win it. Obviously, right now, Fallout and Timmy are looking at this very happy, as I saw Nubatoon go down in the feed, so first place down to Rel and Fresh. I saw them both down there as Prizzy trying to do some work on the mid ground as well. But yeah, things are looking really pretty for our reigning champs up on the high ground. I mean, Jinx is hoping to try and coast through into semis off this into Heats and potentially his 4th FNCS championship.
Oh, could you imagine that? Another one under the belt here. We'll see if it's all possible. Hold up, though. Someone's in the backside of the storm here in the ESC trio. He's going to lose 1. They are going to lose 2 possibly here now to the zone. Bab's getting ticked out. Can he find a siphon or get in just in time? Pay close attention to the feed. It's a trade-off of sorts. On high ground, though, Worthy. Jinx already up, so comfortable. Look at that. And oh, man, they have these upgraded ARs. It's just perfect for putting the damage in here. Even without Alec again, they are okay in this final moment.
Oh, they're going to be completely fine here as well. They've got the flopper, but again, zone going up a mountain. I feel really bad for OC here today. Anyone with any lack of experience or just wanting an easy tournament is not finding it here today. As you see there, Rel, one of the, again, more experienced, smarter players in the region, going down. Can't stay ahead of that zone because these zones have been brutal. If it's not mountains, if it's not hills, it's not water, you then have Worthy on your head right now trying to do some serious damage as Jinx drops down and they get all the eliminations. They clean it up, and I think they even ended on more points than our first place team Fresh. So potentially for the first time here so far on the official broadcast for OCE, we are seeing our reigning champs Jinx, Alec, and Worthy on top of the leaderboard.
Not only that, I mean, listen, last game, the last 2 rounds without Alex still pulled a 15-4 elims and a 5th with 8 elims there, Aussie.
Jeez, that's a phenomenal performance. Vandy, please let us know your thoughts, guys, because again, OCE is not disappointing.
Thanks so much, Ozzy. What a victory over to Jinx's squad. And with Worthy, as you said, just acting like you shall not pass from, Lord of the Rings on that high ground. Guys, I can't wait to hear analysis on match 3. Please give us a deep dive.
Yeah, absolutely. They call it Jinx Hill because Jinx and co dropping dirty docks just hold that high ground and hold that hill so incredibly well. They're able to hold it until the late game and maintain that high ground as a duo, which is shocking. And of course, that's the second game in a row Worthy actually popping off. The game prior, Worthy as a solo survived to top 5. So really solid performance from Worthy. I know a lot of people talk about Jinx, but Worthy's right there as well, Timmy.
Yeah, man. That was a really impressive performance from those guys. And another really vertical zone, one where people had to be vertically aware. We saw people go down quite quickly. But yeah, great game. I can't wait for the next half of the games, Vandy.
All right. Well, you're not going to have too long to go because we're jumping to a short break. And when we come back, we'll be jumping into match 4. Welcome back from the match 3 highlights break and fallout. We're getting excited. We're getting ready for match number 4. But any thoughts for us as we're heading into this one?
Yeah, for me, it's all Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. I think what a great performance from them and showing from them, especially given that Alec DC'd in games 1 and games 2. Despite that, they actually leapfrog and take the first place spot over Fresh, Rel, and Co. So really good job from them. They currently have 92 points right ahead, only 1 point ahead of Fresh. So it's really becoming a 2-horse race here. I'm excited to see who's going to pop off in the second half here. Timmy, any thoughts on your end?
I'm just really excited to see what happens in these next few games. We've seen a lot of diversity in play style. A lot of people I didn't know much about in the scene coming through and showing us how they play and what they do or what they've done to make it through into these finals. So, yeah, really excited to see who comes out, ends up in the top 10 for these last 3 games here.
Well, you don't have to wait any longer because I have received word that match number 4 is underway. So I'm going to hand you back to your amazing casters, Aussie Antics and Monster. You guys, keep the hype up for us.
Thank you, Vandy. Yes, I mean, Timmy touched on it there as well. It is. We've seen a big diversity in playing, and we've also seen kind of some new names step up and show their diverse playing style as well. Monster, I mean, again, you talked about it last week. OCE surprised you. You thought maybe in for the kind of the same sort of thing, but this week, again, looks entirely different.
Yeah, definitely. The champs stepping up to the place that they should be. Of course, Fresh stepping up as well with new, I think you said new company too here. And then, of course, shout out to Go Egg, right? Arnak and Zalker here. Just popping off consistency, right? That's where you want to be as a new trio. That's where you want to be, honestly, as a trio in general, right? Just consistent, slow and steady. That's how you pace yourself.
Yeah. And we're even looking at the fact that now we have 2 teams that are pretty much already well and truly past the top 10 threshold. We now have it that it's going to be Jinx, Alec, and Worthy have already qualified now into Heat semifinals. That is massive. And Fresh, Rel, and Nubatoon, 2 names that everyone expected to be there. And now the pressure's off a little bit. Do they kind of keep pushing this one as forward? Do they try and get as many points as they can, make those big statements we talked about? Or do they kind of ease up a little bit and now they're not stressed it as much?
Look at that. Just talking about, though, Arnak, Goag, and Zalker here. They're going to touch down, and already Arnak's going to get tagged a few times from Weeping Woods team, or the team just by Slurpee that was able to touch down first and use that high ground holds here. On the other side, though, Rylan taking a fight here. This is at the Hydro. Or the, okay, for a second, I thought they were taking a battle. They're just cleaning things up here. Yep.
Yeah, no.
It's going to be a full trio wipe, so it was there.
Is. Full trio wipe as well. That one happened so fast. I was the same as you, Monster. I looked, I'm like, is this Ruckus? Are they having some troubles with the RPG? I know he's got a heavy assault rifle. What's going on here? But yeah, it looks like they managed to clean that one up, and that's huge for them too, because that's 6 points and good surges. Now we get to see our first place team, and I think they're not getting, no, are they getting double dropped on? No, still single dropped on, but I don't know why. So many spots on the map. Why are you going dirty?
Yeah, not to mention, like, this comes down to drop spots, right? Like, how good is your drop? Jinx, Alec, and Worthy were down long before that trio even touched down as a trio. So, again, the inexperience between the trios are pretty evident there. Just the fact that they were to set up and basically lay down a ton of shots before they could even touch down themselves was pretty significant.
Yeah, it's
Back
one of the most
fight,
underrated skills when it comes to competitive Fortnite as well. Obviously, think back to the days of like Grotto, right? Like Tfue. Towards the end, Tfue was still one of the best droppers in Fortnite, as we see a very different change of pace here right now, as we have Brezzo Culture dropping at Salty Towers, dropping on Midnight here, and Luna going down, but Brezzo right now wanting to make their way through, and they do. They have a big fight. Actually, sorry, I think this has been a fight that's been breaking out and going down almost every round, and it goes Brezzo's way here. They have their Storm Surge, 3 eliminations, Luna with the easy reboot, and that's a big start for a team that's right on the bubble.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason they're on the bubble is because they actually just fell short in the last round, taking 20th place, again, with 0 eliminations. So this game already proving to be much better than the previous round. Big points getting picked up here. These 3 elims are massive for them. That's a 6-point swing off the gate here. That's a huge step in the right direction. This is where you want to be. Craggy Cliffs, the champion breeding spot, right? The Victory Royale breeding spot, you can see, is having a contest of their own. The Mako trio back at it again here with your trio pick coming in of Danath and company. This is a scrappy fight in Sweaty.
scrappy fight, but they've got the whole trio in there now. This time they do have Dana, Osiris, and Skits. No disconnects here, and looking like they're showing it. They're going to have a very different looking fight. When they have all three in, they win in big ways right now. So I'm pretty sure one of the team Mako trying to hit the dip in the vehicle can maybe get away from this one. Not going to go too far though. Try and maybe pull back around, and no, they go down to Osiris with the incredible precision there, and that's it. The full wipe off spawn, and that's good points. They're above 60 now. So unfortunate last game, but looking here to back it up and jump back up on the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's massive. That'll keep them in the running. That'll keep their confidence at an all-time high. And again, winning your draw spot, right? It's tough enough to do as a two-man team, near impossible. But you know what? They put up a good fight, and at the end of the day, they held their own. They still stole away a little bit of points because they did get those thirsts. Here's a little bit of a ambush play from Finishing Company. They get right behind him, but oh no. The second time now we watch someone take some big fall damage there. And OCE coming back to back with the fall damage games.
Yeah, a little bit rough. I think the players aren't really used to having the official broadcast. You always got to worry, right? You don't want your mistakes broadcasted to the world. As far as I'm aware, none of these guys are streamers, but Cyrex on the low ground, they are both low on the points. We talked about how, Craggy does. It's the champion breeding spot, more wins than any other location across the regions, but right now, not doing great things for either of these teams here, but if they can maybe get these eliminations, close this game out, they're in for a good one, hopefully. As Riz looking to try and maybe go for the revive or kind of bait the revive. Cyrex trying to find their way in, getting the harpoon. Very good to kind of whittle down these materials that are left right here. Maybe kind of break the walls and dwindle them down. Has the double edit, doesn't have the stare. What can Riz do? The cone comes out, the side angle here, and Riz with the beautiful play just waits for the perfect opportunity to strike. And now going to get the revive.
Yeah, he is going to be able to get that pickup there. It was looking close, though. Definitely dicey for a moment there. You can see even after the siphon, only at 131, how the mech is going to be exchanged here, and it should be okay to bounce back. Where's that reboot card? This is what the race for the card is, and yes, he is going to get it, so they will be A-okay. Down to the Dirty Docs, though. The champs here, Worthy, Jinx, and Alec. Wide spread, and seems like they're setting up the pinch here onto Qualit, who is, yeah, he's caught up by himself. Heels are going to come out. Ooh, great peek there from Worthy.
Yeah, this is a fight that's kind of taken longer than what it normally does here, and looks like Worthy's going to be the one to start it off and engage. And yeah, good peaks and good aim. If Worthy's known for anything worldwide, it is having some of the best mouse and keyboard aim you've ever seen. We talked about our Middle East team playing on a ping disadvantage. Worthy is up there with Reed as being one of the most well-known pros for playing on a high ping disadvantage. Obviously, Australia, again, not expecting too many outside of it, yourself included, Monster, to know too much about it, but most of our population on the East Coast where the servers are in Sydney, Worthy is all the way on the other side of the world on the West Coast, one of very few pros, literally less than a handful coming from Western Australia, but you would never pick it from watching him. One of the most phenomenal fighters out there, but renowned for having the best aim in OCE, hands down.
Yeah, he's definitely proven that. You can see the swift accuracy that he's putting down here on the fight. Now, though, he's got these guys all on defense. Yonda, Qualit, Orzo looking for the sneaky shot there. Not going to find it. Fresh gets knocked in a feed by Asana there. Not what we expected. Remember, they did have Holly hedges themselves. Must have been a bad rotate. Maybe even a little bit of homework done. Let's not forget they were, stealing away a lot, right? Trying to get these super wide spreads, and no, instead they get rotated into on. Fresh does get picked up here. Ooh. You can see by how quick his health is going up. He's already ate all the cabbage that he needed. So it's going to be a reset.
And this is a team that's on only 2 points in the last 3 games. So very interesting. They want to take an early fight here. Very, very strange for Fresh, Rel, and Nubitude. Hope they can win this one out, because this has got to be one of the stranger fights I've ever seen from this team. Not really sure what they're going for. Maybe just wanting the loot, but why are you picking the team that's in second place doing phenomenally well with a really, really good fight on spawn to push? I don't know. Maybe they knew that they did have that big wide split and they can catch them off guard. Nubitude obviously taking the damage, but now Nubitude, Fresh, and Rel are back up to healthy, and I don't think they're going to let this fight slide. I don't know if they're going to really want to just let them disengage. They've already guaranteed qualified, so this will be the defining moment for Fresh's team. Are you just going to sit on the points you have, or do you want to try and make that big statement here?
I mean, listen, they had so much time to loot up. You can just tell from Nubitune's loot there, right? He's all comfortable. Like, he's got everything he needs. So is Rel. Like, Rel is big vibing right here. Super chill. And look, the team up top, when we checked in with them, they didn't have any medium, barely anything to work with here. So this is a team fight that should go in Rel's favor here. And yes, with the pepper effect, he has all the advantage. Even with the bouncer coming in, I don't think it's going to be enough. Fresh on the other side does slow down his push a little bit. Asana going to put some defense onto him, and just look at the wide shot. Gives you a nice picture of how it's all going down.
Yeah, wavy RJ right now having to fall back, takes the snipe there, and yeah, they're very split. I think right now Freshwell and Nubatoon looking to try and close this fight out and use their numbers advantage, because that player is very split off in the distance. 23 builds, a good loadout for Xanax. They didn't need to take this fight for the loot. They took this fight for the points, and I don't know if it's going to go in their favor, as there we go, Nubatoon, I'm pretty sure, gets the knock. He does, and Nubatoon gets traded back onto, though, potentially. Xanax now trying to do something big, as Fresh has to clutch up for this team. Fresh right now in the 1v2. No, Nubatoon's still in there with only 5 health. I thought he'd fallen because it was so close. Nubatoon has to go now, though.
No.
3, 2, 1. Zone's going to end this fight, and he does. He gets the damage in, but that's it. Our second place team goes down. They're hitting the dance. Very, very strange behavior from this team, but Fresh, Narelle, Nubatoon, either way, have fallen.
Yeah, what a fight to take on the edge of zone. These kind of things are going to happen, though. It is what it is. Like we mentioned before, they're def qualified. They've done enough so far. They've played exceptional Fortnite. Back with them. What's happening here? So it seems like down to the Slurpy Swamps, Rylan, Stevo, Rise. We saw them at the start of things getting tagged up from the Weeping Woods.
Big
now it
fight
seems
with
like things
Prizzy.
have gone to distance.
And that's not the fight. That's not the team you want to fight here. Only Prizzy and Raptor having Slurpee on lockdown, know how to take these fights. They know how to rotate out of here as well. And this is a drop that you can have a scrappier fight, because you're going to get guaranteed shields on the way out. You don't have to use any of your meds, as Rylan has the RPG coming out of the Hydro Dam. So they got their 3 eliminations at Hydro Dam and then thought they were going to push Slurpee Swamps. Not really sure on that play. Potentially going to lose the big advantage they had, because this was their game, right? They had Storm Surge, they had the RPG, they had all of the loot they needed. And we've talked about it with Zay's team especially. It's a big split drop. Flush Factory, the coastline. It takes a while to get that loot. They could have easily rested on just grabbing that loot, but they tried to go overly aggressive and on the wrong team. And only Raptor and Prizzy are going to try and make a statement of them here. Get the shakedown as well. See if they can get the full clean wipe, the full ace of this trio, as Rylan's trying to run for this one and make the distance. But I see Repulse off in the distance, but I think a lot further away than what the camera makes it look.
Yeah, what I'm just going to say is that if they get the RPG, only Prizzy and Raptor can definitely use it. Like, look at their points right now. They're at 45 points. Like, they are in the top 10. Arguably, right now, this is their golden opportunity here to get the RPG where they otherwise wouldn't. And they should know that that's the team. Just judging how the fight probably broke out, they knew what direction they came from. So I'm thinking they're going to hunt them down. I'm thinking they're not going to let them get away. Here's our Misty Meadows dropping team, though. Repulse, Tyrax, and Forbes. We've had an exceptional 2 games. The ones that they did get to play didn't make it into game 1.
Oh,
not what you used to seeing them, huh? Below the
32
Storm
below
Surge.
Surge. That is one that definitely has to be screenshotted, put in the books as just kind of, I don't know, an unforeseen circumstance in OCE. We have Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax below Storm Surge, even though they're uncontested. I think the other 2 games we've seen from the Monster, by this point, they already had wiped 2 full trios each. So you can understand why I'm so surprised to see they haven't actually done any damage. But don't worry, it's not going to take them long. And right now, it looks like they're going to pinch potentially M1's team between Remy, Spraz, and Pace, who went down to Repulse last time. So depends. It's interesting to see Repulse's team taking this one a bit more, I don't want to say seriously, because the way they play is serious, but it's serious to get eliminations. They aren't really playing for the end games, where right now it looks like they are maybe going to set up and go for some tags. Maybe not happy with how they look on the leaderboard, despite how dominant they've been in the fights.
Yeah, it's either that or they were doing challenges for some upgraded loot to just dominate. We'll see when we get to check in with them again. It's going to be one or the other. Reckless, Lazy, and Bluesy here, though, under some massive pressure right now. Reckless going to have to use these chug splashes. They had a lot of splash. They had about 10 splashes when we just tuned in. You saw 6 on the other hands. There it is. Taker has some as well. There's fights everywhere right now. This is the... I'm just going to start calling the OCE special. These early these game fights, they just start taking these battles here when the surge goes off. No doubt about it. Whether you need it or you don't.
Oh, this is an interesting stat here we have right now. So LZQM, it went away there, but they had the most amount of points from a single game in round 3. So showing they can put those big points up on the leaderboard, and a game like that would secure it. There's still time left. We're only just gone past the halfway point here, but with this game, if they don't kind of get that in this game or the next game, they're gonna have to step up and do something big. But yeah, I'm more than happy for you to coin the OCE special as early game fights, Monster. Most of the OCE special is usually early game fights that tend to be in the Storm region. them. So if they're taking early game fights somewhere else on the map, I'm all for it, because OCE, incredible mechanics when it comes to these fights. And that's why they usually drag out, because you do get pitted one against each other with good mechanics, but sometimes the decisions on when to take the fights are a bit questionable. As right now, Taker's team playing it well though. They're holding down a good spot of the map. They're 278 above. They're in a great spot with good meds. And Osiris' team getting sprayed down a little bit here. They kind of made it out of sweaty, and now they got to do something big here in the middle of the map, and they're about to push over the 70-point threshold. So they're almost at qualification here in the top 10.
Yeah, they've been doing so well. And again, 4 elims already here, though. Repulse and company, we knew they were going to want to fight soon. You can see those upgraded loadouts. That's what I was wondering of what they were doing at their draw spot. We're already seeing an upgraded AR on one side. Radius on the run, though. He did manage to get the RPG. We talked about it changing hands, and it is changing hands between multiple trios, and it might be moving here now. Slaya on the other side, though, trying to put some pressure down for his teammate, but no. Radius is going to go down, so that means the RPG has been lost. That is a major exchange here for Slaya's trio. That's a huge blow for them, and now Repulse has a rocket launcher. I repeat, Repulse has a rocket launcher. What is he going to be able to do with it? He's going to hold on to it, that's for sure.
I think he's going to hold on to it. He's got 9 rockets as well. They found a few on the way, and that is looking massive. Doesn't have the charge, only has the blue tactical shotgun. Would be incredible if he had a better shotgun to kind of lead in, but he will definitely be using that to apply some pressure, and I would not be surprised to see Repulse just full send it into a box with opponents in it, not really caring how many, but they're getting their eliminations. I talked about it. Are they going to play for the end game? Are they going to play safe? This is safer, but I still definitely would not call it safe.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. 30 points, though, for Repulse's trio. Pretty rough, all things considering. They're about middling in the pack, but we are in the middle of the competition as well. So, you know, not on pace to qual, not off pace by any means. They can definitely still do something big here. It only takes one good game to really propel yourself all the way on up. And now, again, they have the loot to do it. Here, Lazy, Reckless, and Bluesy still trying to figure things out. Keep this window open for a long time here. I am wondering if whether or not someone's going to be able to take a snipe shot in, but no. Seems like they get away comfortable. Repulse on the other side. Already a rocket missing, so you know what that means. They set up the fight for this, and Tyrax is in a box, and they already have some knocks. No. It's on to Lunar. Lunar is down.
And I saw Lunar in the Oz Open chat before as well. Not too happy with how his tournament was going because he was being contested on Spawn. We see them win the Salty Towers. Things are looking good. We won the contestant. Here's our big point game. And no, they go down here at the hands of Repulse, Tyrax, and Forbes. Wasn't the whole team. They might be able to do something, I believe. No, it's only Cultures left. Brezzo's gone down as well here. So that is not good. And we talked about them as a team at the start of the tournament, Monster, that after switching out now in week 1, they've lost their series points. They have pressure on them to do well in week 2 and 3. And I feel like they're going to be feeling the pressure now because unless Culture can do something massive, they're going to need a big game 5 and 6.
Yeah, he literally needs to do something because they cannot afford to fall behind. They don't have the weak buffer like all these other trios do. They are literally having the qualification run put on the line here. Literally, it's right in front of them. What are they going to be able to do for it? Honestly, I don't even see Culture here nearby anymore. Good thing that he did get away from Forbes. And of course,
Brezzo's still there. Never mind. They only took down Luna. Sorry, Brezzo, they are still there. Brezzo and Culture there next to Tech. So they're still up. So they have a chance. They've lost 1. Not too bad. Can kind of IGL them from beyond right now. As Remy Space trying to do something big here with Spraz. No, they're not engaging. They're just spraying this team out from above. They're looking pretty healthy. Got really good loot. And I think we saw it run last week, Monster, that OCE is the region with the least or one of the least amount of sniper plays or elimination. So interesting to see that. I have to kind of confer that here today. We haven't really seen any trades go at the hands of snipers at all compared to what we normally see on some of the other regions like NA.
Yeah, definitely not too many. And you know, this is like a sniper meta, I'd say, right? Like, there's a lot less things to hold. You see a lot more snipers in the inventory. Regardless of what, though, Tyrax is down here. Repulse is trying to stick this pickup right now. Company of his trio. Ooh, this is gonna be a big surge zone right now. 12 players have to go down here, Ozzy. This is rough. 50 seconds on the counter as well, so this is definitely triggering here soon. So I look at the feed, though. Go Egg finds one. Repulse finds another.
It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be going down to, and everyone's spread out around the edges, players in OC knowing their spots, no one's set up in the center, so where's half going to go? If it pulls towards this south side, things will look really good as Slick's trying to harpoon up some loot, I believe, but unfortunately getting caught with the wrong team above them. The spray comes out and it was Spraz. We saw Spraz, Remy, and Pace set up there. G502 King, that is also known as Spraz, just making our jobs that little bit harder, as right now Natsu's here on the low ground, getting some spray through, has the assault rifle and has the epic SMG, so could really put out the pressure. But I think as a solo, Natsu's pretty happy to sit on the low ground and hopefully just go unnoticed for the rest of this engagement.
Yeah, this talking about unnoticed. They did not notice those shots coming in from above. It's almost as if they just missed the cue there, unfortunately. We'll see, though, now. This is the real important part. The half in, half out is going to favor them for the most part. So, again, it's a lucky blessing there for them. On the other side, though, Slayer's going to find himself a nice knock in the feed. Bailey and company are going to try to rotate their way into new zone. They're so close. Just have to slide on to the side here. Long rotates for Repost, Tyrax, and Forbes, and they're not letting up. The pressure right here. 500 medium ammo will do it. They will do it, right? That's enough to put the pressure on. That's enough to get the server involved as well. And even if they don't get it, I mean, hey, they're going to fall here. Forbes is going to secure that one, though.
A little bit of lobby focus. You love to see it. Sometimes it's not all about luck. Sometimes it's unfortunate. You're just in the wrong box, in the wrong position, but you can do it. It's called lobby manipulation. A lot of good players know how to do it. The best way to do it's a rocket. Sitting in full builds, all of a sudden a rocket hits it, a little bit of spray, and everyone gets involved as now everyone's trying to get on this edge of the map, trying to get to this half, and who's it going to be who can secure the high ground? Because high ground on half, we know is a massive win condition going into this one, as maybe Tyrax's team, they're looking up. I can see them looking up here, maybe getting the crystals, see if they rotate around the edges, or are they going to use that to go and elevate themselves up a bit, as it's Reckless, Lazy, and Bluesy, a team that needs to have a big performance to secure top 10, and if they're going to do it, now's the time. They have high ground on the half. If they somehow manage to get a rotating zone in this area, there's no big mounds, there's no big water, it shouldn't be too hard to hold if they play it well, so this is their chance.
I mean, I hate to break it to you, but the ammo just isn't there for Bluesy. Gonna be a rough high ground hold for them. Daneth, Osiris, and Skits, on the other hand, though, making it out of their draw spot. We talked about what that can do for them, and look at that. They're just at 7 elims already, making up for lost time here, making up for having a man down in game 3. Game 4 is looking phenomenal. GLM's Oreo, though, trying to find some shots here, trying to find some loot. Skits' Harpoon's going to put in the perfect amount of pickup here. Yes, there goes the bouncer and a refresh for the entire trio here. And look, it doesn't even cost them a single shot. Just beautiful usage of the Harpoon.
Such good utility, and right now it's either triple med, sniper, or harpoon. There's not a lot of things in the loadout right now. You don't have the shockwaves, you don't have the crash pads, don't have the rift fish. There's none of the carryable mobility, so there's usually at least one person every trio carrying that harpoon, and it can really be put to good effect, as this is the moment for Lazy's team. They bounce her off high ground. They don't bounce her onto an opposite and try and hold it. Bluesy looking like he goes down to fall, or maybe some big damage. No, it looked like fall damage because he got hit by a truck, but it's just worthy with an epic assault rifle, putting down the big beams, and there goes their chances of high ground here, as they're gonna have to try and play something shambles on the low ground. But Tyrax, Repulse, and Forbes are also lurking down here as well.
This might be the first endgame we've actually got to cast over them in the last 2 weeks, honestly. They just weren't making it this far. So if they're here and now, this is ever more scary considering they have an RPG. Other names I saw there, Brezzo still alive with Culture. That's big. That is very big considering, again, they need a qualification week right now. The pressure is on ever so much more for them. Here they are. 5 elims. Not too bad so far. Again, scoring so many points this time around. But they're in shambles and a man down.
They are shambles and man down. Repulse gets in on Remy, though. There's the team that was trying to avoid them. Tyrax getting into a box as well. They're just playing this mid-ground layer for fun. They're pushing through people. They're box fighting. They get zoned to come back as well. So a bit of breathing room. And it's none other than your FNCS champs on a high ground. Worthy, Jinx, and Alec looking to do it again here. Try to have another big point game as Daneth, Osiris, and Skids, my picks to win. Doing really good here on the mid-ground as the Storm Surge goes down around them. That's not on them, but I believe it's underneath them, as we get to see what's happening in the mid-ground, down in the trenches, as we see Spraz trying to make the rotate to avoid Worthy's beam here, because this is such a scary team on high ground. No extra shield for Alec, but everything else they need to make this a double win here. Getting the beams onto Repulse, that'll slow that team down, as Repulse is down to 29 health, still leading the top, waiting till he gets in, burning through all the mats he was holding before he pops the minis.
Yeah, let's not forget, like, you know, Jinx, Alec, and Worthy had a 1-point lead, and then Fresh Route and Nubatoon they went down early. They went down at the drop spot. So this is a lead that they're breaking away so far ahead now. They are blowing out the rest of the competition. If Arnak, Zalker, and Goeg is not somewhere in this endgame, then they are blowing things away. And I do see Goeg down below, but the pressure here from Repost and company, they're just working their way down low, so no one is safe down here. Here goes Oatly getting cleaned up. And now the 8th elimination for them. Tyrex is going to get chunked up. The zone's going to do the rest, but no, 1 HP will be enough to keep him alive in this game here. And again, he's just working his way around. Look at how messy these battles are. Great layer changes here, though.
It's scrappy, and right now you got a phenomenal team, top tier team on high ground. You got a phenomenal top tier team on mid, and right now Gex trying to avoid it. Forbes trying to get in on the low ground layers, gets a little tag in there, trying to make their way forward. And I also noticed on the high ground, Worthy did take down Oreo, which is 4th place. So you talked about it. There is Goeg and Zalka. They're down there. They're trying to make something big happen to jump back up. We have Dana, Thesaurus, and Skits trying to jump back up as well. So there's some teams in this, but it's Alec, Worthy, and Jinx pulling away, showing why they were the best trio in OCE last FNCS, taking out the convincing win. And right now, some of the new faces on low ground, though, Fallen and Sinner down there with only 20 points. They got to keep pushing forward if they want this, as Bath and Sayo and Zedox also on 87, pretty much secured their qualification already, pushing ahead, trying to get those bragging rights, seeing if they can take down the champs, trying to go for the high ground as Forbes does fall, and someone is challenging Jinx up here right now. It looks like they've managed to fend them off, and that was a bit of a signal from the low ground there. Maybe it's not as easy of a win as what I thought.
Yeah, no, and Zalker's still popping off as well. He found 2 in the feed there. So Goeg and Zalker still putting something together here, making this competition, keeping it nice and close for everyone else. Take a look here. 6 eliminations now for the low ground team. They have everything that they could hope for, but the time is not on their side. It is just ticking here now. High ground, again, doesn't have plenty of heals. You can see there, the 1 tick HP. He's going to go for the heal off up above. Down low, Jinx is going to jump in, though. He wants to take the fight here. Still so much time to work with, though, Ozzy.
So much time to work with, and he waited till that one closed out, got his siphon, got his finish. Worthy goes down, Zalka's in there as well with Jinx. Zalka gets the finish on a Jinx, but Zalka needs the finish. There it is, does get the siphon just in time to go back up to 6 HP, jumps down, and right now it's Alec versus Gek. This is massive. This is first place versus a team that looked like, I think they must have come into this game on single-digit points monster. Can they get the win? They do. They take the win off the FNCS champs. They jump up 40 points, and I'm happy to admit I don't know anything about this team, but that is what FNCS is about right now. We have the new guard trying to come up against the old guard, and that win meant so much more for them.
Yeah, you know, I think the big problem there was that Goeg and Zalker are still alive, and they were pretty healthy. They got those heals off, so dangerous trios down below. And I mean, listen, Alec went for the heal off. We saw he set it up perfectly. I called it right there. When I saw him step out, he took the tick. I was like, all right, they're going to go for a safety play. And even that wasn't enough.
Even that wasn't enough. They're still 100% going to be our first place team. They almost got back-to-back wins. We'll see what the leaderboard looks like. Vandy, let us know how it's shaping up, because again, we got 2 games to go, but things are getting, as you said, very spicy.
Thank you so much, Aussie and Monster. As you said, super duper spicy. Our jaw, like you had to pick it up off the floor after that. And Gex just coming out clutch, just like that. I thought, as you said, Alex had the height, had everything going to plan, but no, Gex just last minute turning the tables. As you said, it shouldn't really change too much, but this one's for Timmy, okay? Because you guys didn't hear it, but while we were watching the mid-game, Timmy was mentioning that there might be some high-level tactics taking place that the viewers at home may not have been aware of. I told you to hold on to them until now. The floor is yours. Can you please just share with us what those were?
Yeah, so we're going to see some really interesting distributions that a lot of people might not actually understand why they're happening. So what we saw was a first zone that pulled quite far bottom left. So you see we've got first zone in Holly here. It pulled all the way down to Slurpee as well. And then what happened with second and third zone is they went top right of their respective zones. And what that means is with the first zone going bottom left, you'd expect dead side to be down that way as well. But then when it goes back, you have to recalibrate your idea of where our players are isolating to. When we cut back to see where the majority of players are in half and fourth zone, you're going to see a majority of them grouping towards south and southwest. The reasoning because everyone had to recalibrate and move into that area rather than towards top right.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Timmy. Big brains, Timmy, always talking about our late game rings, but I just want to talk about some of these players here, right? This is the squad that, of course, Aussie predicted to win the whole tournament, but I got to give him some love. A pop-off game for Osiris, Daneth, and Skits. They had dropped at least 10 plus before the late game there. Ridiculous stuff. And then, of course, we see Repulse, Tyrax, and Co. with a ridiculous individual skill. But for me, the star and the highlight of this game undoubtedly is Sinner, Fallen, and Gek. And I think he hit the nail on the head in Aussie and saying that's what FNCS is all about. This open qualifier format where anyone can have a Cinderella story and a remarkable showing in a finals. Well, this time it's Sinner, Fallen, and Gek. And I want to pay some respect to them because they actually had the most consistent and most top 5 finishes in the qualifiers. So they played very, very well throughout the qualifiers. The most top 5 finishes in games overall. They get a disgusting 2 versus 3 win right there. Big kudos to them over some Titans in Jinx, Worthy, and Alec.
Absolutely. When you're going up against some of the best, and I love the way I was like, I don't know much about this team, but I'm going to be paying attention now, essentially. And same too goes for us. It's kind of is what the tournament's all about. But standings are here. Of course, we're going straight into match number 5 about this. But Timmy, can you just break this down for us? For anyone that's just joining in onto the broadcast, essentially.
Yeah, so we nearly saw Jinx, Alec, and Worthy going back-to-back, and that's why they have that 26 kill lead. But a big shout-out to Goeg, Scammed, and Zorka. These guys would have been my pick to win today if they weren't contested, but we see them being contested off Spawn at Weeping. So I'm really happy to see them doing well. Fresh, Rel, and Nubatun coming up in third with that Victor Royale we saw them get earlier. And then Daneth, Osiris, Skits, and Bathan, Zedox, and Sia rounding it out.
And I want to point something out, Vandy. It's actually remarkable how good Jinx, Alec, and Worthy are doing with 137 points. As we take a look at the second page of the standings here, you'll see a couple other teams. Repulse, Forbes, and Tyrax currently within that top 10, looking to be in a decent place to qualify. Radius, Flexi, and Slaya, another team that got a Victor Royale, but all the way in 10th place. We talk about the fact that they're so placement heavy. But one thing I do want to say about Jinx, Worthy, and Alec, they're dropping contested in Dirty Docks. And despite that, typically we see teams that drop contested that do not win tournaments or do not qualify or place top 10. But despite being contested, they're still dominating. They're winning that fight. They are undefeated in that fight on Dirty Docks, proving that they are the best Dirty Docks team in the Oceania region. I think that's really impressive. You'll see here in the third standings page, Rezo, Lunar, and of course Culture in the 11th place, right outside of that qualifying spot, Timmy.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what how these last few games sort out and whether or not Brezzo and these lads can make their way up. As we keep on moving down the standings here, Sinner, Fallen, and Gek, our last game winners with their 5 elims and 40 points. It really does go to show how big that last game was for them. And then rounding out Baffle, it is Baffle season, so it's really going to be interesting to see if these guys can make a good play for this last few games here.
That's it. I do like that you said it's going to be that last-minute mad dash, it feels like. But for the top-heavy teams, at least for our top 5, they seem to be just jostling amongst themselves, more for just bragging rights, because, of course, the top 10 will be going on. But it sounds like match number 5 is ready to go. So I'm going to chuck you back over to Aussie and Monster.
Thank you so much, Vandy. And again, like you said, yeah, the top 5 teams have pretty much already secured qualification. As I'm seeing, we've got 5 teams that are above 89 points. Last week it was about 81 to get in the top 10. So you have to think they've already secured it. So it goes to show you've only got about 5 spots in your last 2 games to jump up. And teams like that we just saw then have their big jump. Sinner's team managing to get a win, and that only put them in 16th. Can they keep up the consistency they need to take one of those 5 spots left?
Yeah, and listen, dub is worth a lot, but you need a ton of elims if you're that far down. And hey, at least that swing right there, it just shows anything is possible. It just shows that if you're middling in the pack, you can definitely bounce your way back into the top 10.
Yeah, you can jump back up into the top 10 as we're seeing an interesting split here right now. We got 2 teams contesting the Sharkers. The map's looking pretty similar. I'm noticing no team at Misty there. We have Repulse's team MIA for whatever reason. Maybe somewhere else, maybe not here. We'll have to kind of maybe get an update on that one. As the fight breaking down over Shark, it's an interesting fight that you see because it lends to these little box fights. You go underneath, you kind of farm yourself into the mountain, into the little hill, into the island, and no one can get in. Those are all indestructible walls. And if that lends itself to your skills, that's fantastic. But it lends to some pretty shambles, pretty sketchy fights, if I'm going to say so myself.
Yeah, it definitely does depend. The only reason why you want to go down there is for those kegs, right? To get that free extra shield. But there's other shield barrels outside as well. So it's a give and take situation. You definitely pin yourself down a bit here. And again, just look at the fight down below on the bottom right. I mean, it's going pretty back and forth. Repulse is in the game, though. with Tyrax and Forbes. They went up to Steamy Stacks. They're looking to take a fight with someone that probably isn't expecting them, and Repulse is going to find his first Elam there. That's going to be onto Lazy. He wraps things up. And hey, the W key doesn't stop for these guys.
No, the W key doesn't stop, and this is going to be very, very unfortunate for Reckless team. I talked about how this job's an interesting one because whoever's got the more experience normally wins it, but sometimes the mechanics really do just come out over brains. As I say that, I've got to slow down here. Bluesy backs it up with a 1v2 against Forbes and Tyrax. Bluesy, this is the fight of your life. You're on 40 points. You're on the edge of top 10. You need to beat Repulse God to potentially qualify automatically. This is it. What can you do? You have reasonably even loadouts. Does get the harpoon, manages to get the cheeky little harpoon onto Repulse.
No!
And that is absolutely gut-wrenching for this team. The headshot snipe ends it all. Repulse showing why he is Repulse. I don't know, Monster. I thought that was another team. I thought that was a third party. How did Repulse even hit the headshot snipe? I don't know what just happened.
Ozzy, I could just commend you for really setting the stage there. Like I became a fan so quick, and then Repulse said, "Stop it!
Yeah, stop!
I am Repulse."
Yeah,
like, he just came through,
and just
my gosh,
he closed that one out so fast. Unfortunately, I set the stage, but Repulse is usually the center of attention when it comes to OCE. He's used to being in the spotlight, as you see, for a very good reason, getting the 3 eliminations, the full wipe in. I wonder how they're going to play the rest of this game. Clearly, they're not sticking to their normal strategies. They're changing it up. They're having fun with it, and they're dropping an entirely new location. Do they reboot and W key, or does Repulse just try and go for the bragging rights as a solo? At this point, I can't predict anything with this team.
Yeah, that was insane. I'm still thinking about the snipe. The angle was ridiculous. The speed, you know what I mean? Like there was barely a moment to react there. Like that was crazy.
And the Repulse as Yonder right now trying to do something, and this is a sketchy fight. We talk about fights where you win the fight but you lose the war, and at the moment it looks like that Yonder here has got 1 elimination, their first 2 points on the board here at the edge just outside Shark over near Lighthouse, and things aren't looking good as Raikou and Zams are looking, they're hunting, and Yonder doesn't have much to hide with.
Yeah, no, he's probably gonna get caught out there. You can see the curses on the map there already on top of him. On the other side, though, here's the fight going down. A 3v3 situation at Lazy Lake. Remy's trio looking pretty solid here. Trying to swing back around. He does have some shield working with them. They do have the advantage. Now, though, trying to push through.
And this is interesting. Someone else is muscling their way into Lazy Lake. I talked about how Spraz, Pace, and Remy kind of have this on loan. They kind of have it, you know, they're minding it for Muzz, Speedy, and Luda, which has obviously been the dominant team out of this drop for seasons now, who already qualified in the first week with a very dominant performance. And Remy, Pace, and Spraz trying to show that they can do it well. It'll be interesting to see how they go if they do get into top 10 here. They're on 48 points, very, very close. If they get top 10, what are they going to do if it comes to heats? And they do get put in with Muzz, but that's a problem for another day. Right now, they need to figure out who's in front of them, how they're going to take out this team who's just hiding inside the main building at Lazy Lake. That's a pretty tough building to make your way into now safely.
Yeah, I saw Batham take out Repulse as well. I do wonder if he just went on as a solo, like you mentioned, though. I didn't see any other exchanges come up, so we'll see. Brezzo, in the meantime, is going to find ESC's Chemo, and this is a full ESC trio. They're going to get wiped up here. Brezzo, making up for lost time there, is going to go ahead and make it all happen with Culture. And his trio's there. Nice job for them.
27 points. They're at that kind of one of those teams that really needs to have that massive game that we were talking about. They had the biggest game out of any team at OCE in round 3, picking up some big points, and they kind of got to back that up here, but it's a lot harder to do in set lobbies against the best of the best than what it is in round 3 when you're still versing. It's not opens, but you haven't gone through the full qualification seeding yet. As right now, we have Zwitty, Toggle, and Fizz now working their way into this one. Our Middle East team that started off really hot here today, Monster, and kind of fizzled out, pun intended.
Yeah, you know, I thought they were going to do a lot better than they performed, especially considering they had the uncontested draw spot and they won the Caddies fight, right? So that's the confidence in its own. But listen, again, 27 points, pretty solid. I want to say that it's okay, but these last 2 games here, right, they mean a lot to a trio like this. Yes, these elims are so important, and they're being ruthless with the way they're hopping in here.
They need to as well. They can't take the walls. They don't have the ping advantage to try and get the walls. It's going to be very difficult. I saw them default to trying to take them. Remy's only got 10 builds. He's trying to back up right now to 3v1. I think they're going to walk away with this with 3 eliminations, 6 free points if they can find Remy. He's moving well. He's ducking, he's dodging, he's weaving. And you know what the irony of this is, Monster? You talked about uncontested caddy. This was the team they went toe-to-toe with last week. Remy will not be happy to see if he goes down here at the hands of Toggle, Zwitty, and Fizz, because that's a team with some real personal beef over last week. Things did not end pretty for either of them.
Yeah, and they know who this is because they've already picked apart some of this trio here, right? They've already gotten a piece of the blood, a taste of it, if you will. And now, again, looking to walk all the way through. There it is. I wouldn't be surprised if the dance comes out soon, but either way, there's business to be done here, and they can't slow down now. They need to continue to warpath on through the lobby, and this lobby is lightening up really quickly. Take a look at it. 65 players remaining here. 32 trios entered and 23 remain. That's a lot of teams getting dropped so early.
Yeah, this definitely heating up. Again, you've got to play for it. There's no point playing for anything outside of the top 10. Yeah, you want consistency points, but in OCE, if you're making round 4 consistently, you're guaranteed to make it into the heat. So a lot of these players are really trying to go for that big top 10 to secure it, those big statements. And so OCE does best. You've talked about Monster, OCE special. It's taking those early game fights, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing caddy corners push a third party at Lazy Lake, but it's working for them as Alec, Jinx, and Worthy, no eliminations this time. So maybe that team finally decided that dropping on the FNCS ex-champions and the only 3 times FNCS champion in the world wasn't the brightest idea.
Yeah, no, definitely not the brightest idea. But now, though, they're on the move here. 137 points. They're so far away from the rest of everyone else. This is their week. There's no looking back now. We will be seeing them in the semis, no doubt about it. They do get to do it in dominant fashion today. Just a taste of what's to come. Just a taste of what happens when there isn't other high ground teams in the same lobby. You can see how much of a difference that is. We'll be keeping a close eye on the heats and how they get structured out, right, coming into the semis week, because that's going to determine who walks away strong, who walks away with a clear lead, who's going to be the clear favorites. It does come down to the dynamic of the lobby.
Yeah, it does. And we talked about it. Timmy Meave talked about it. 2 of the people who follow OCE the best, and we're happy to admit it. There is a pretty big skill gap when it comes to OCE. The best of the best. I'll put my money on Jinx, Alec, Worthy to perform if they went overseas to some of the bigger regions like NA East and EU, but I can't say the same for every team in OCE. So heats is going to be very heavily influenced by who's in your heat. Do you get the stacked heat? Do you get a heat that's a little bit weaker? Because that will matter massively as we see a big fight coming down here. Prizzy, Oatly, and Raptor just can't seem to get away from the fights. It's at the hands of a team Infusion, Yixa, and Rainy that I believe this is their first time making round 4. I don't know if they made it last week. I can't 100% remember, but either way, Raptor, Oatly, and Prizzy always seem to be at the hands of someone stalking them or trying to fight them, or maybe flip the narrative. It could just be that Oatly is a team that really likes holding people.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm thinking something's going on here because this MG trio here, this is their first taste of elims right now. First 6 points they've picked up, so they've already wiped out a squad. But yeah, I mean, they do seem to have been very unlucky as far as rotating into squads. Like, whatever their decision making there is definitely not on the dead side. It's very much into those congested areas and into different trios. For what it's worth, they've probably fought the most amount of teams so far.
Yeah, we talk about bragging rights. I got some bragging rights myself, relying on Danath here to keep pushing forward. 89 points. Either way, I'm incredibly proud of a team that not a lot of people had high expectations on, but I know they've been putting in the hours and they're pushing that 90-point threshold. Guaranteed now, they're in the heats. They have made it through, so they've done me very proud here, but I do have hopes for them to keep pushing forward as Baffle, M1, and Seiko, a team that could very easily make top 10 here. A little bit off the pace. Looks like they're in a scrappy low ground fight here. Good loot to walk away with. They've got the splashes maybe grouping up to put all those together, but Baffle confident sitting on the 173 with the big green charge shot. Rip has to push back. Cripper pushing up to hold the builds, and that is the green light to go here for Baffle's team to push in and try to close this one out and get their points, or they've just scared off the aggressors and looks like they want to sit back and be happy with it.
Yeah, I thought they were just going to start wilding out for a second there. A big 130 would have been the easy green light to hop in, but you know what? They're content with the little bit that they have, and they're content with the loot they get to secure. And now comes to rotate. Let's get away from that outer edge. Let's get away from these other players and start moving our way in. That's the decision making here. That's the move that they're going to make. Here's a quick stat for Crippa Rip and YouTube. You can see YouTube's BMP had the most wins, 3 of any of the teams to advance from round 3. So they were on a hot streak coming in. So far, I mean, the final chances to prove they can continue to get back into that stride.
Yeah, they know how to secure the win, and that's what they're going to have to do here as well. 30 points on the line. That would jump up in a 68. That means any decent game number 6 would secure it, but things are getting tough now. This is a different scoring format. If you missed the start when we explained it, round 4 has an entirely different scoring format to round 1, 2, and 3. Instead of having 25 points for a win, you have 30 and 2 for an elimination, which really does allow for these big point scale-ups. So at the same time, as much as I'm basing the points off last week's top 10 qualification, it could look a little bit different here, as if the same teams perform well, they can get more points and really jump up at the top level, as right now that team is not in a good spot rotating out of zone, as Jinx, Alec, and Worthy looking like they're in a fantastic spot loot-wise and rotation-wise, kind of sitting in this I think they're trying to swim through the door. I don't know if they're just testing whether they can do that, because they could very easily just edit their way out if they wanted to as well. I think they're trying to dolphin dive through the door. Hey, you've qualified, you're the ex-FNCS champs, now's the time to test. Let's find out. Can you dolphin dive through a door edit, half in the ground? These are the things that OCE is breaking edge on. And yes, you can. One of them making it through, I believe it was Alec, the Trailblazer, leading the way. Can Jinx follow? I don't think he can. Worthy also stuck. Alec showing that he really is the Flobby Master. And if you're part of OCE, you get that reference. If you're not, I sound like an idiot.
Did you know that you can also drown in Fortnite? Did you know that, Ozzy?
No, I did not know that. Wow, okay.
Yeah, you actually can. If you get stuck underwater, you will take damage. So
that is
think about
something
if they get stuck there, it would be hilarious. Yeah, I was gonna say, if they get stuck for some reason trying the crazy strat, it would be very funny.
No, that would be very funny. And again, if you guys don't know outside of OCR, we'll try to teach you Monster as well. Alec is the Flobby Master. For some reason, this man always refers to him as Flobbies. And that's why I say it's kind of ironic that he was the one that could do the dolphin dive, swim out of that one, and be the successful fish to push forward. But Brezzo now, ex-AO champion, trying to do something here on the stage again. I know Fallout was talking about that before as well. I had the pleasure of casting it with him in person last time. Brezzo winning $100,000, coming out on top as the solo champion, not just of OCE, but international talent as well. And right now, looking good to potentially qualify out of this one on 68 points. That puts them in a good spot right now.
Yeah, definitely a great spot now. Again, what was looking dicey for a moment there, they did have one bad game, but bounced back so far. So again, all you need is a 4 solid runs. But if you're having like decent games, those are not enough. You're gonna need more than that. Brezzo and company are still going to need a big pop-off. They haven't had a huge pop-off. They have had some end games, though, which is, again, great in its own. Here's James Worthy and Alec, though. Just trying to get a fight going.
Trying to get a fight going here if they can, because I mean they want to try and take one here. They've got the ability to, they've got the loot to, they've got everything in their namers. I like this position from Kazi, setting back with the sniper. I was actually realizing we did get confirmation the angle that Repulse hit, by the way, Monster, with that snipe. It was just beautifully timed, waited till the builds broke, and then he just pre-fired it straight through. So it wasn't really an angle as much as he just held it there, waited for the spray to come through. Is exactly what I want to see Kazi from there as well. The snipers can be used very effectively defensively. If you hold those angles, if you're confident, you land the headshot snipe, nothing will stop a team aggressing faster than that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Those are some of the best shots you could do, especially even in box fights, right? You see pros wait for the floor or the wall to break, take the shot in exchange, and then still grab the piece in the process. It's those high-level mechanic plays, those high-level exchanges that you know can definitely come with devastating punishment behind it. And Repulse put the best shot down in the process. Your Spy 5, though, Russian, trying to get situated. On the other side, you have Radius playing for some high ground here with Slaya. They have another team below them. Take a look at Fluxy there. Take a look at Fizz. That's actually the Middle Eastern boys of Toggle.
It is. And they're set up right now. We haven't got to see much from Slayer, Fluxy, and Radius. I put the pressure on. I said they wanted to control the middle of the map. They wanted to play aggressive. They didn't want to do much for points. They got the game 1 win with the high ground, and then things went a little bit quiet. I mean, they ran into Repulse's team twice in a row. That's a very, very good way to make your mid-game quiet, or very high and then very quiet. But I also wanted to give confirmation for anyone who's watching this one. Freshwell and Nubatoon did not make it into this match for whatever reason. I've heard Nubatoon potentially having a bit of a Nubatoon moment there. Don't really know what happened, but That's your third place team not connecting. They're pretty much guaranteed their qualification already, but upsetting to see because we don't get to see exactly what they can do here. They didn't make round 4 last week, so they need the practice. They need to make their statements. So sad to see them not in, but that's very good for Goeg, Zalka, and Scammed, who are above them in second, and very good for Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, who are just running away with this one in first.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, listen, the more that first place puts the pressure on the lobby, the better for them, as long as they can avoid that rampage here, though. Ooh, a couple big shots on the rotate there. Brezzo's going to have to slow down and go ahead and heal. Lunar way out in the distance, and Culture's going to leave Brezzo behind. This is scary. There's a trio right there. Cyber shot's going to be a miss from HVT's grab. You know he's upset about that when they could have used it. They were 165 damage below. That could be the make or break shot that he just missed. When the pressure was on, he didn't hit it. Here's another team underneath, though. And they're slipping further and further away here, Aussie. 227 below now. Other teams are getting active and they're not. 16 players have to go down.
Yeah, right now we got Nunca down here trying to do something big. Skits is up there as well. My boys are still in this one as we see Luna, Brezzo, and Culture together down there. A team that I have high hopes for, that I talked up a lot today. Luna unfortunately falling at the hands of Repulse again last game. Really just breaking apart the storylines I've been building up all day here. So kind of happy to see Repulse out of this one. But Luna, unfortunately, still getting sprayed out here on the very edge. Muscled their way in. They've got the hard mass. They've had to invest a lot here. Hopefully this team stops spraying. But no, the shields crack. That is a very loud audio cue that everyone hears and everyone knows that usually leads to the entire lobby unleashing, but there are so many shields cracked on the edge here. I don't think they can pick who they want to focus.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Here's another team, 99 damage below, trying to get in it. One shot away, and no, the Storm Surge is going to be the shot that does it. He's out. They're gone permanently as well. You can see the HVT boys lighting up the feed here. They were 200 below before this, and now they walk away with 2 elims, plenty of loot in front of them to work for as well. And that's just lobby focus. They need the loot. They used all their heals to sustain as much damage as they could.
They used everything they could to try and kind of close this one out right now as Yonder's trying to push out of this one. Goeg, Zalka, and Scammed, our second place team on the high ground, securing height on half and on no other team than Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. That is a massive swing. That is first place team versus second place team. Who gets the dominant position in high ground on half-half? But they get the pick up onto Worthy. Worthy is back up. Alec, Jinx, and Worthy probably going to have to be forced down here, but that is so big for Goeg, Zalka, and Scam. And this is why Timmy said he would have put his money on them, and you have to trust Big Brain Timmy, but he saw they were contested, but that hasn't stopped this team. 4 eliminations on the board, high ground on half-half. Worthy's team 46 below Storm Surge. This is bad for the monster.
Yeah, we somehow keep finding themselves in these bad situations with the Surge here, and there it is. Alex should be out the game, but no, he actually gets the heal off just in time there to beat the Surge, and now the damage comes through as well. Pressure is off them for now. Alec will be able to get his heals on here, and so will Jinx. There's just enough time in the zone here to go ahead and give them that moment that they need. High ground team is not putting the pressure down below, but they are still very much in a dominant position. The loot, the material, the heals. This is it. This is exactly what the second place team needs. I don't know how that didn't hit there, but that would have been nice.
Radius getting so lucky here that Zalka missed that one. Don't know what happened. Maybe Radius stepped out something. I can see there. He's gone back into the build. It's like, whoa, I just didn't even look up there. That's the one that you get punished for. A lot of people, a lot of pros not happy with snipers in the meta. They can really end your game super fast, but situations like that, you can't really complain. Just a lack of awareness, but Radius getting very lucky on this one as Worthy, Jinx, and Alex still sitting on second height, going for the bouncer rotate, but they're 17 below again, showing again, Monster, like you said, why, in my opinion, OCE is one of the most exciting regions. You get all the early game fights, you get all the excitement, and you still get the active surge on rotating.
Yeah, this is definitely a very active game here. 50 players up right now in this moving zone. This has got to be all kinds of turmoil for the layers down low. This is not the way the moving zones are supposed to look. There's way too many players up right now. People have to fight. There's so many. You have to assume there's so many trios right now that have that surge, and they're below it. They're very much below it by big chunks of numbers. So there's going to be upsets happening right now. Pay attention to the feed that's going to get lit up. Baffle's going to fall here. Oreo's going to find one that he needs, but still, it's not going to be enough. Even Slaya and company are below, and they're on the ultimate low ground.
They're on the ultimate low ground. They're trying to push through this one, seeing what they can make out of this, because right now they need the big game. 83 points here for Goeg, Zalka, and Scammed up here, but I want to really keep eyes on Luna there and see what they do. I'm going to keep my eyes on the feed, see what happens as we still have Surge going out right now. A team we just haven't seen on high ground. Worthy getting sprayed at, but I don't think too many shots connecting. Luckily for them, as I see our Middle East contingent going down, still getting big points as well. This is the second last game. This is the second last chance for a lot of these teams to secure either qualification or very, very vital series points. Goeg, Zalka, and Scammed are going for bragging rights. They want to overtake the FNCS champs and make a statement. They're guaranteed. They are through to semis. They're through to heats, but this matters more to them as Luna and Culture now happy to try and do this as a duo. This is a team that needs it. They need about 10, 15 points to guarantee qual.
Yeah, Brezzo got one, but then he gets knocked out by Zwitty, the Middle Eastern boy himself. On high ground, though, you already laid it out for us. This is for bragging rights for the high ground teams. They're just looking to pop off here. Go ahead and wrap this one up. Down low, though, everyone else is still in a fight. Sinner's actually in this end game here. That's the team that took the last game. They're in another end game, so this is big for them. Could they have a huge game swing to actually throw them up in the question, to throw them up in the conversation for making top 10?
Top 10's what we're focusing on here. This is a battle for first place. I think I've seen Worthy go down in the feed. I saw Alec as well. I don't think Jinx is up anymore. So we got a battle at the top and we got a battle at the bottom, both meaning a fair bit, but I really do think it is about that top 10 as Raiku's down there as well. 5 teams alive, 10 players. So they have a huge numbers advantage right now as the full trio. Luna and Culture still doing big things. Skids, Dana holding it down for my prediction. There's a lot riding on this for me as well right now. It's all about me, but Morph is down there with this one as seeing what they can do. No meds though, Monster. If someone jumps up, if someone can contest this, things are going to get ugly because they're tarping out. They're using all their mass to suffocate, but they don't have the heal off. They need to make a play for this.
Yeah, but actually this might actually be perfect for them. Yeah, it's going to be able to close out everyone here. Bouncer going to come out. This is the desperate plays. Culture still alive, though. This is massive. 92 points, 97 points. That might have just done it. The second place. We talk about it, Ozzy. We talk about these points being so important, and it doesn't matter. He's going to be so happy that he actually clutched out all those points there.
That is a guaranteed qualification for Luna. The new team, we put pressure on them. We told the story. They split teams in week 1, so now week 2, they lost all their series points. They show up big in game number 5, but so does Goeg's team, and I think that secures them first place on the leaderboard. It's about making statements. Both those teams are qualified, but if you can come out on top of the FNCS champs, that looks good going into heats for anyone.
Yeah, and they did it with 12 eliminations, so definitely the biggest victory we've seen sweep the stage today. Again, that was just game 5, right? There's still another round of Fortnite in front of us. That game right there, by the way, started off so fast. Like, it was just like everyone was getting dropped, but all of a sudden, that was also the biggest and the most stacked end game that we've seen too. 50-man moving. So is it like what side of the fence we're going to get here? We never really know.
It's what OCE does best. It's unpredictable. It's crazy. It's tumultuous. Let's see it. I need to see some of the replays as well. Vandy, let us know because, again, big jump up, but it's right around that top 10 and a lot of teams are on the bubble.
You said it better than I could myself, Ozzy. Lots of teams vying for that, but Goeg having a great time, literally just running through. You boys just praised them enough, but now I want to hear it from Timmy's point of view. Actually, no, we've got Fallout back.
I'm back. Listen, I just had to.
I want to hear it from your point of view
man.
then, now that you're back, Fallout.
I teleported out and teleported back in. Yeah, no, it was a great finish right there. I want to give kudos to Timmy because he was this close to predicting Scammer, Zalker, and Goeg to win the tournament, but he didn't because he didn't make a bold prediction. So, Timmy, next time you got to go big and risk it for the biscuit, mate. But a really good showing from Scammer, Zalker, and Goeg. They hold high ground and do it with the 10-plus elimination game. Really strong showing and performance from them, Timmy. What in particular impressed you from them?
Again, I think it's their versatility. Goeg and Zorka played together in duos, and they were really well known for their mid-ground consistency play. And what we saw from them this game was 12 elims on height. You don't generally see that many elims on height. It was just the fact that they're able to play that consistency through mid-ground, which is what we've seen all through tournament. I'm not too sure if they're going to be on the top, but that consistency is huge. And then also being able to play height when they're given the chance to. That's just the versatility is huge.
And I'm so glad we got that highlight right there. Aussie casted that and called it so perfect, but that was a beautiful shot on low ground from Repulse. Well played from him. So clutch. And I think you've got to make an argument, Repulse, Timmy. I'd like to hear your thoughts, but Repulse has to make an argument for top 3, top 5, maybe even top 2 most individually skilled players in the Oceania region. What are your thoughts?
I think he's actually probably got the highest ceiling out of anyone in the region. I think he's probably got the most natural ability out of anyone in the region. His mechanics are unbelievable. His aim is unbelievable. I think his biggest thing is his attitude and making sure his attitude is sorted. And if it is, man, he could go anywhere and win in the world, in my opinion. But as we get into the late game highlights here, it was the Go Egg, Zorka, and Scam show. Little shout out to Luna and Culture down on low ground there. We saw Culture getting his controller on in those 50-50s. His zone really started to close. But honestly, it was all about Go Egg, Scammed, and Zorka on height, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They held high so incredibly well. Brezzo, Lunar, and Co. did a really, really good job. It was Culture in the late game. Of course, the controller players in these late game box fights are always going to prevail if you can make it to late game. So they popped off. That was actually a must perform game for them because they were in 11th place. That should be enough for them to break in within the top 10. So kudos to them as well.
That's really all they're going to need. And hopefully we'll wait to see when the Precious team manage to make it into this final game, because, of course, that's what we're going to be setting up for. But it seems as though we already talked about top 5, not much movement on that end. What we're really into, though, is how the from 5 to 10 onwards kind of goes. And Timmy, can you kind of just recap for everyone at home, like what the path to the top has been like out of these games?
Yeah, and I'm getting more and more mad at myself as we're looking at Goey, Scammed, and Zorka on top here. I should have picked them to come first, but they're in first place. Brilliant performance from their last game. 12 elim win, and then second, obviously Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. Not as great a performance from them in that game, but Clutch Masters will probably see them come out on top in this last game. Rounding out the top 5, we've got Danith, Cyrus, and Skits, Bathan, Zedox, and CO. Didn't see too much of those guys in that last game, but really looking forward to seeing what they can do these last 2 games here. And then Zans and those guys coming in 5th. Break me through what happened in the last bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to point out Brezzo, Culture, and Lunar from 11th to 6th, but the highlight on this page for me is 10th place, Sinner, Fallen, and Gek, the Cinderella story, if you will, the team of players that Ozzy mentioned. I'd say the same. I haven't heard much about. They performed 2 games in a row. We saw it was Sinner, Fallen, and Gek. They're actually popping off, getting some limbs there. They, as a result, go from 0 points to 40 with the first place finish they had last game. And now they, of course, have 62 points, the 22-point game right there. Very, very impressive from them. They break into the top 10. Vandy.
Oh, absolutely. This is where things start to really heat on up. And as you can kind of see the rest of the results over here, I really like how you keep referring to that Cinderella story. Because for me, discovering and finding out a lot of these teams has kind of been a highlight in itself. Right, Timmy?
Yeah, it's been awesome to see all these different play styles, like I said, and I'm really happy to see Brezzo, Culture, and Luna popping up in that last game there. And then Sin, Gek, and Fallen there. Bit of a Cinderella story, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this last game pans out.
Okay, well, speaking of that last game, it's time. For the final time today, I'm going to hand you back over to your casters, Aussie, Antics, and Monster. Please, Siren Song us, because the mic is yours.
The mic is mine. Thank you very much, Vandy. I appreciate it. Game number 6 is going to be a big one. We talk about it's a battle for the top to make statements, but it's also the Cinderella story. Those players that are trying to jump up into top 10. And this is a team, again, we keep talking about it. We haven't heard much about them. So chances are they might not be as high up on the consistency leaderboard. Maybe they don't even make round 4 next week, Monster. So this could be their final chance, game 6, to shake the nerves. And I don't want to say change anything. Just keep doing what's working. You're in 10th for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they made that last game, they got the win, and then I saw them popping off in that end game. I saw Sinner out there, and I knew that was a big, big situation for them. We talk about 1 big game is not enough. You need 2 to back it up, and they did just that. They went back to back with it. Now you just need a consistent ride out, literally. 5 elims or an end game, and you are chilling, right? They got to break that 70 or 80 or point so threshold. I think the cutoff was just about, 81 or so to actually qual last time?
It was 81 exactly. So if we're basing it off that, it's going to be close. It was 81 in 10th, but then it was 74th and 74 points for 11th. So it does jump off a little bit at the bottom there. So it could change a little bit, but it's overall looking like that. And I'm guessing news got out that Repulse had vacated Misty because we now have 3 teams there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so many players here. Look, no one's at Stevie. Wait. So everyone's switching up the strategy right here, trying to
avoid
stay
repulse.
ahead. Yeah, they're trying to stay ahead of the game, but it's not working. It's actually all gonna stump their own strategies. Lazy Lake on the other side though has 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in the vicinity, by the way. So yeah, a little bit of a mix-up here.
Yeah, a bit of a mix-up. OCE, like I said, I talk about it. There's not many people in any region that have the amount of respect or command the amount of respect that Repulse does with Forbes and Tyrax. They left Misty, so they didn't go. They were going Misty, 0 teams. Literally, if they didn't drop there, no one followed. Now they leave, 4 teams. They go Steamy, no teams. When we started with 2, it's crazy how much they can affect the map. No one wants to be near them, but right now Misty was in the safe spot though. Just because they're not here, plenty of other people are, and it's a really scrappy fight.
And you got to think about, if you're a middling team like this team right here, Trunk, Sadler, right? You don't want these teams that are hopping around the map to possibly land at your drop spot. So it does make sense why you'd also just mix it up. It's a safety play, but this time around, the gamble was not going to pay off. You're scrambling on the other side with Pace and Remy trying to get into the fight. Oh, he's on the run here. Doesn't hit any of the shots that he needed to, but they were one of the 4 teams that landed at Lazy. And look at that. Tyrax doesn't get a gun. Repulse was here as well. He's on the chase here. King has to run. It looks like King had a sniper and a shotgun, and he can't do anything. He gets taken out. Oh my gosh.
I'm so happy OCE finally got the broadcast they've been waiting for the longest time, so we can really highlight OCE's best, where we see Repulse carrying away Spraz into the distance as a full gold Brutus. We have the thick squad making it off in the distance. Pace going to try and line this one up. Does he get the final shot? He does, and the easy points for Remy, Pace, and Spraz, and Repulse God's team has gone down. The pickaxe battle has been lost, but not through lack of effort.
Oh, brother, if you're Spraz, what's the panic comms like getting taken down the river?
Getting just so completely kidnapped there, just being forced down the river. Remember, Repulse's team is not in your top 10, but they have been performing insanely well on consistency, almost guaranteed to make round 4 next week, so they are very, very comfortable. But if you want to take one highlight away from this, Repulse will be here next week, and he'll be forced to play to his full extent, because at that point, it won't matter if he doesn't come top 10, and that's where you are going to see an absolute clinic put on. So I'm looking forward to that. They put on a show here tonight as Reckless picking up the Dragon Shotgun in. I don't think that was a misfire. I actually think that was a deliberate attempt to set these builds on fire to force these teams out. Very smart play from the young fragger.
Oh no, I just saw Sinner falling in. Gak get taken out in the fiend by Team Mako. That means they went up to the Sweaty Sands. Or that means Mako's team dropped in a new spot, which makes sense as well, because actually Sweaty was completely uncontested when we were coming into it. So I think Mako's team landed on the top 10 of Sinner, Fallen, and Gak, and they did not win the draw spot.
Our Cinderella story is over, but massive consistency points from them. They've proven they can do it. They've gained the confidence. Hopefully we see them again here in round 4 next week to back it up, because they played really well here today. They're outside the top 10 guaranteed, but that's big consistency as Reckless on 40 points can do this, but would need a massive pop-off. Same with Tekma. Tekma forming the new team here as well. Shocker's up here as well. There's still more than 2 teams here left now. I think there is, yes, there is still more than 2 teams. I believe 2 teams in a solo, as we see another team coming over the hill from the Camp Cod area. So Misty is just the place to be right now.
Yeah, Lazy Lake, Misty Meadows, all this hot spot down south. PRDX is definitely huddled up with one another. Tekmar, Shocker, and Midnight on high ground here, looking all around. Coming on down, though, Tekmar wants to see if he can find some angles. He's not going to find anything. He's going to go in and back off. Intuition says get a move on it. It seems like that might just be the best play here. This Misty team comes up over this mountain. I mean, they'll have dibs on the ambush. Anyone can get fried for being out in the open. We'll see if they end up taking advantage. Here it is. The shots come in. We talk about it. Shocker's going to be the first to get picked up. He actually doesn't have shields. This is terrible for them.
All 3 of them don't have shields. It's going to be a bad fight here as the spray comes out. Reckless going low, and this is it. That's all they need. That's Pace's team's cue to come in. They've been on the end of a pickaxe battle here at the start, and they're looking very shambles. Well, some of them looking more shambles than other. Pace is looking quite stacked, actually, but shambles on the back of the Repulse triple pickaxe strategy as Pace getting this angle and taking down Shocker. Really, really good sneak attack on that one, and the snipe through the window onto Tekma. I talked earlier in round one how Tekmar's built a name for himself as one of the best snipers in OCE, goes down to his counterpart there. Beautiful shot from Pace. And Remy Spraz going to push in here, and Spraz sitting back a little bit, rightfully so, with that loadout.
Listen, this is big right now. 5 elims, huge point swing. That puts them in contention for top 10. Let's not forget, our 10th place team is out. That is perfect for them because now they can close that gap even quicker here with less resistance. Taker, W Puck on the run right now. Gonna have to do something big. LZ tries to find a shot. Doesn't get the big one that he needs, but it's enough to hold him off for a little bit. He's still running here by himself. No teammates in sight.
Yeah, just doesn't find the angle there. Managed to get that one, though, but this is going to be a rough one. 1v2 at Lazy Lake. Both these teams, I have to imagine, completely out of qualification. Here's Luna, Culture, and Brezzo, who had a big last game, managing to jump up in the leaderboard. They don't need this fight anymore, but it's ESC squad that really does need it. 23 points, and then Osiris Daneth in the distance, making their rotate out of Sweaty. It's going to be interesting to see how they play. First time uncontested Sweaty Monster. You talked about it. This isn't just about the games. It's not just about qualifying. It's also practice. Osiris, Daneth, and Skiss have qualified. This is their last chance to play FNCS until heats and semifinals now. Do they make it with uncontested Sweaty? Do they know how to play it? And this is perfect for them to get their search.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to have to continue to rifle it on out to win these draw spots. On the other side, though, let's see. The clash is going to happen. I mean, we have 9 players here. Decision. Get in or get out. You can see the players out in the open. Everyone's scrambling for information right now. Daneth especially here, trying to stay nimble, trying to stay low.
Good loadout here. The power of Sweaty coming out uncontested is massive, but yeah, I don't think they know this team's here, but there's another team even further off. Salty Towers is pushing up into this one. I feel like, again, as things are getting spicy as how we talked about at the end of the tournament here, it's game 6. It's go big or go home. There's no point aiming for 20th. It's got to be that top 10. There is no prize pool in these qualifying weeks. It's all about getting to the grand finals, not even prize pool in the semifinals, Monster. So things really are heating up just for the grands, and this is the team that's already in, but Brezzo plays with pride, and so does Luna. Jumping in the wrong box there. Brezzo with the big green lever shot. That was over 120, pushing the max damage, finds the toes as well, and that's it. But unfortunately, Culture goes down. Brezzo and Luna win that exchange, but can they now hold off? My picks here, Daneth coming out of Sweaty Sands. They see all the loot. They know at least a few people have gone down. They have the numbers advantage. I want to say they have the loot advantage, but I don't know whether they're going to push this fight.
Daneth scooped up some of that loot, so definitely denying some of the refresh from Brezzo's company down low. And now Osiris here using a compact SMG. They actually didn't get any of the picks there, so all of those picks falling into Brezzo and his entire trio. Perfect for them. Daneth is now going to go on and get the rotate on out. Yeah, they don't want to be a part of that. They stood around long enough, though, and now that the zone's saying it's going to be a long rotate, it's time to get a move on.
I love to see this from as well. Like Timmy touched on, like I touched on, they are 2 of the hardest working players, 3 of the hardest working players, whole trio, really trying to make a name for themselves here, trying to pop off this FNCS. They've guaranteed qual. They had the chance to kind of, get in on the little bit of the circus that OC is turning into in this final 6th game with pickaxe memes, and they said, no, this is practice. It's our last chance on the FNCS stage till semifinals. Let's take it serious. We're going to rotate and we're going to play this game out. And genuinely, I have to shout them out for that. I massively respect it.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Like you just mentioned, that is a very good point. You really want to use this opportunity, use this advantage. Here it is. Little EU classic with the RPG setup, get in the box. That's a full trio wipe there. Lazy, Bluesy, and Rexy or Reckless just get taken out. Oh, man. They made it a little too easy there.
And that was that team that got dropped on by Repulse at Steamy. So they started off hot. We saw them on the high ground early. They made it to a few end games, but just really falling on the bad side of things, just running into the wrong teams in the wrong situations. You can call it luck or a bit of skill in it involved, but either way, unfortunately for them, going to be outside that top 10 here. But again, good consistency points as now we see Zalka, Goeg, and Scam. So our first place team right now set up just beneath what I believe is going to be, our 3rd place team. So all we need is Jinx, Alec, and Worthy to make an appearance, and we've got the whole shebang here.
Yeah, and that's unlikely. They're on the other side of the map, but either way, listen, they had a great start, right? A couple elims to kick things off. Both sides of the party looking pretty decent. Osiris, though, I mean, good job for them, right? To really win off their draw spot from the Mako trio and prove that, okay, they've got it going on. So if that carries into the grands, though, That'd
That's
be
what we
nice.
said. We talked about making statements. They're not going to be here week 3 where it looks like Team Mako is. So you got to make a big statement. And I think that duo win where they almost beat them as a straight duo really did put the icing on the cake and make that statement of like, hey man, we're going to make it. We're going to go straight through. You've got next week, but don't think if heats come around or grand finals that we're leaving because we can beat you convincingly. As Alex, Jinx, and Worthy, other side of the map, they're making their way around. They're having a big fight at the restaurant here over near the old Tomato Temple near the Orchard. Alex got the good loot if he can try and get this one off, but not really sure what's happened here. They got their hands on the RPG, and I know what you're thinking. How did they get it from Hydro? They didn't. I guarantee that is a Shark-acquired RPG. The only other way to get it on the map other than getting it from Ruckus, and obviously Dirty Docks, it's a dock for a reason. It has a lot of sharks.
Yeah, I was going to say, they definitely picked that up from a loot shark. It's one of the better drops. Honestly, it's the best drop you can get out of the shark. Next to a shotgun. Let's see that on the other side.
yeah.
Yonda, Qualid, and Wazy here trying to get into the fight. A little messy.
Looking a little bit messy
Worthy,
here.
Jinx, and Alex.
Look how many teams there are. There's open sidelines on this one. I don't see too many teams in the distance around, but right now, this is at least, I think, there's 4 trios. 3 trios guaranteed, potentially 4 here, and they're all held up, and they're very, very different circumstances. You got Jinx, Alec, and Worthy already qualified, 154 points, right near 2 teams that definitely need points more than they do. Qualit's team on 7 overall, and I believe we also saw the other team in the distance there as another team that I've seen a little bit lower on the leaderboard, so I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of them. We've seen some of Spiker, Riley, and Silk here jump up on the stream for a little bit. So did we see Orzo, Yonda as well in a couple fights here, but nothing too big. See Slicks though, Slick, Spiker, and Bailey. I mean, 78 points. They're kind of chilling right now. This is an important game for them. So many players here, and one of the worst, right? One of the worst trios sitting on top of them as far as a team that can care less at this point because they've definitely qualified through. It's the champs themselves. Here though, Dana Osiris, we talked about them using this as good practice and trying to play smart.
Taking out first place team. I'm seeing Goeg down beneath them. So whether it was that at their hands or just at something they've done, Goeg is down beneath them. Now, I think they're looking for him. They're trying to find him. There's just too many builders buried. There it is. They managed to find him. So that's them taking out one of the first place team members. And right now, Scammed and Zalka have to disengage. So again, as practice, you guys are both going to see each other, or maybe potentially in semifinals if you get the same heat, but guaranteed in grand finals because I will see both these teams going through. I'd put a good amount of money on it. So again, the practice is important. It's again making a statement, and that's what Dana's team's doing here.
Yeah, for sure. And look at that. That's going to be the refresher. Dana's back to some nice material there. It looks like Skit was the one that picked it up. You see the one Elam, the one and only Elam that they have. These are fights they're going to have to take either way. Remember, their draw spot was not contested, so they need the surge tags. They're probably looking to just get involved with anyone that they could for this late game.
Raptors team looking pretty good right now. They need their points. They really, really do. This is so close right now. So if you're just tuning in right now, top 10 going into this game was on that 62 point mark. So it's going to be really difficult. A few of the players already having gone down. So it's still sitting around 62. They're on 60. So they are literally on the bubble. This is your 11th place team. So one elimination, that's 62. They need to have a big game. And Oatly, Raptor, and Prizzy are a team that a lot of people would be expecting to make it as well. So they probably want to try and jump up here, have their big game, take next week off. I know a lot of teams, a lot of pros have been kind of vocal on social media talking about the format of having to sit it out. Some teams love it, some teams dislike it. This will be a team I think will be happy to coast in, have their chill week, and then set up for the semifinals.
Yeah, let's not forget the top 10 coming in. Sinner, Fallen, and Gek were taking out one of the first teams to get wiped out of this game by the ex-Sweaty Sands dropping trio, which is Team Mako. Don't know where that fight unfolded, but it was a big one nonetheless. Here's a quick stat for Nunker, Grav, and Agent Chains, who finished top 10 in 86% of their games from round 3 coming in. Looking to continue that here, but again, only at 57 points. Top 10 is just not enough, right? They've pulled multiple top 10s already and gotten close to it, but the Elam's lacking.
Yeah, that's it. You touched on it perfectly there. Their placement so far, 16th, not so great, but then 8th, 9th, 12th, and 12th is consistent, but it's consistently just outside those good points. They really, really need a bigger game here. I mean, if they're going to get one of those in this format, a top 9 will net them potentially enough points to qualify with a few eliminations. You touched on it, Monster, right? That's what really, really matters right now. From 17th to top 3, you're only getting 1 point per team that goes down. So if you eliminate an entire team, that's 6 points compared to the 1 you're going to get for placement if they go down passively. It really does reward eliminations. Epic has done that because eliminating players in these kind of lobbies is more rewarding. To take down Fresh, to take down Skits, to take down Jinx, Alec, any of those names is a lot harder, and you are rewarded for doing so. You can't just play placement warrior if you want to step up in these kind of formats.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, yet, it's the literal reason why you have these stages, right? To really ramp it up and amplify different play styles as well. Put some respect on the skill and the caliber of the player. This here, though, is the last round of the evening. We've gotten the pleasure to call over 5 different games, most of which has some very interesting end zones, right? The start of this was just all over the place. If you were obviously one of the pros in OCE running through those end games, those are some nightmare zones, as I like to call them. This time around, though, we get, I guess, the more traditional, for what it's worth. You know, key to the new season right here. It's all on the desert biome. Perfect fit for a closeout.
I mean, I love it though as well. You've got the sand rotates, you've got the 0 point rocks as well. So there's a lot you can still do in this area. But yeah, compared to mountain, water, water, mountain, mountain, water zones, yeah, this is a lot better. But still quite difficult. But teams like this is exactly what they need. Code Russian, Spy 5, and Wavy Kazi right now are just...
They need the win.
Hands to the sky right now. They need the zone. They're on high ground. They have half potential. If they pull it up there, there is a very good chance that is enough to secure them the points they need, because they need about 25, and that's a big game, but very doable if you get a bit of luck with the zones, and that's what they need right now. Some of the teams taking luck into their own hand, but if you get gifted, you've got to run with it when you get the chance, and all these teams are setting up on that northeast to north to northwestern side. Only one team on the south, so if it pulls south, that team is also looking really good as Nunca chains and grab your team that's just on the bubble. Getting in here, getting 3 eliminations for Chains now. That is 6 points they've gained this game, Monster. That is the difference between them being in 13th, they went in on this and then just inside that top 10 now. So they're on the edge. Raptor, Oatly, and Prizzy also just outside your top 10, making big moves. This is what we want to see, Monster. It's not just about the top, it's about who is going to qualify, and everyone is fighting for it.
Yeah, definitely. All the bubble teams in the mix right now, getting the action going. And not only that, well above the surge as well. So no pressure on the shoulders of these guys other than continuing to stay consistent. And honestly, for Nunker's team that we saw get that full trio wipe, 3 elims, that's about as many as they've gotten so far throughout the day. Their best games were only 4. So again, huge team wipe. They do not get those wipes like that. And now they're getting pressured to, again, grab here. Getting pressured right now by a Storm Searching. This is really, really bad. It's Nubatoon. Rel and Fresh is actually looking to get in some shots, but luckily they do give up just a little bit here. And Chains and company, they get to buy themselves a couple more times. They get to buy themselves a step closer. Russians on height.
They got it. They got the zone. I was talking about it. They got the zone they needed. They're 62. We have now tuned into 3 different teams, Monster, all around 62. And coming into this game, 10th place was 62. Spy 5 has got their win condition. They have high ground. They have ammo. They have mats. They have shield. It's on them to do this. If they don't qualify now, they have no excuse. I'm going to put the pressure on them. They have Prizzy, Raptor, and Oatly, another team on the bubble right beneath them. This is shaping up to be such an exciting game number 6. We've got our top teams. We're not going to not give them their shout outs, but we're going to see them later. They're going to be in semis. They're going to potentially be in grand finals. This is the stage right now to highlight these teams that are trying to have their big moment. OCE has never had a broadcast before this. This is tech players like Oatly, Prizzy, and Raptor, who you haven't heard of before, potentially having their moment. Mako's team out of Sweaty, unfortunately not having the best tournament so far. Maybe can have a big game as first rotating goes across, and that is still a decent zone for Spy's team on high ground.
And not to mention how many players are still up here, 49 in the game. So things are going to get real interesting here soon. Pace is going to get pinched on the way in, though. And this is a max draw distance here for most of the other Spy 5. Still putting the pressure down. Code Russian looking around here as well. Gotta be careful, though. They do have the high ground for now. One false mistake, and it's all over here. And you can see they're building extra high to stay away from other enemy line of sights and making sure they do not lose this high ground hold. On the other side, though, the pressure is on for Prizzy, Oatly, and Raptor to make this rotate. They are in the congestion. They are in the mix here.
They're in the mix of everything. We're just swapping from team after team after team on those low 60s. Code rushing up right now, holding the high ground, bouncing forward, and I like this. They are playing high ground really well so far, Monster. That is incredibly encouraging for a team who needs to have their big game. We have Brezzo in the feed, not seeing any of the other big names. We still have Brezzo, Luna, and Culture. They got over 100. Fantastic game 5, looking to make it a fantastic game 6. As we see, no big plays for the high ground. Brezzo looking up. We still have Spy up there. We have the mid ground breaking down. We get our panning shot. Osiris on the front side with skits as well. Prizzy, Oatly, and Raptor battling it in the trenches of the mid ground. 645 above with no eliminations, Monster. With a bit more luck, you have to think they're going to rack them up as we see Remy, Spraz, and Pace still in this one after the repulse pickaxe battle. So right now, those are the 3 teams to focus on because they are jockeying each other and vying for that top 10.
Yeah, definitely. And Pace had 7 elims already. They need these points so bad. With how many elims they have, they're actually breaking away to take that top 10. Everyone else outside of it on the bubble has to step it up as Morph drops Pace in the feed. That's a massive, massive knock for Morph there. What is Pace's trio going to be able to do? Oh, no. Everyone's getting exchanged now. Look at this. Spiker trying to continue to hold this top 10 here. 88 points is massive, but is it enough? Is it enough? Can Spy 5 keep doing it? They need a win on height. Anything short of the win is probably not going to be enough for this team either.
And what a position to be in going into your last game with needing the win. Radius, Slayer, and Fluxy also there. All these teams making it to the end. Slayer, a World Cup competitor, played in solos. He's felt the pressure before, but this one will be up there as well. We got Fluxy, Radius, and Slayer on the front side. Decent spot. Bailey on the low ground, 93, securing big points here already. 5 eliminations. This is what you need. Top 3 is the placement. Monster, you said it best. Spyfire, the team on high ground. They need a win, not the team on high ground. They lose it to Slayer. That could be their tournament. I see Code Russian down there. I see Spy down there. Not only have they lost high ground in the game they need to win, they've lost it to a team that is pushing them outside of the top 10.
And Slayer needs it as well. That puts them up at 70 points, coming in 12th place before this game was up. And now Prizzy, Oatly, Raptor are jockeying it up. They are battling it out right now, and they need to take it from Radius, Fluxy, and Slayer, who have the high ground now. Both of these teams are so neck and neck with the points. It is ridiculous. In 8th place, you have Bailey down low. They've already clawed their way through. They've broken the 3-digit mark. They're up in the 100 points. So this is all, of course, a battle down here. Only one of these teams will walk away with this. Who's going to grab it?
We have 6 teams remaining, now 5. 4 of them were between 10th to 15th. I am not kidding. This could not have been scripted better to make this more exciting for the top 10. Prizzy dropping down 82. We've already seen that Slayer's team can win a game, but they've lost high ground. We've had high ground transfer between these 3 teams 4 times now. Raptors up, the spray's coming out, and this is not good. They're pinned up against Coliseum. One of the few places in Fortnite you can't break. You are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Qualification inside in front of you. Coliseum at your back. You need to fight your way out. Oatly's team has done it. They're on the high ground. 4 floppers. We have 3 teams, 4 alive. That's it. They managed to close it out here. I have to imagine Bailey's gonna go down, and they end up on 125. A great finish. Oatly, Prizzy, and Raptor having the game they needed. But what happened to Spy? What happened to all the other teams? We saw so many people have their shot there, Monster. But in the end, Team Oatly were the ones who managed to take it.
Listen, Spy was in 4th place. I'm pretty certain there. We saw him moving. They came in 14th for 57 points and really fought their way up all the way up to the 80s. Listen, top 10 is going to be a tough one to crack. I called only like 2 or 1 team in those final moments being able to push through. It's going to be very close here, Ozzy.
It's going to be incredibly close with 2 points per elimination, with that top 3 being worth so much. It really is top heavy, and anyone could have taken it, but so many of them tried. That's going to be it for us here tonight. Monster D-Face and myself, Aussie Antics. Thank you for joining us. We're going to pass it over to the analysts. Don't worry. We'll be back next week, though, and hopefully we'll see which top 10 teams won't be back next week, because, man, they've played their heart outs. Vandy, please let us know who managed to pull it off.
Thank you so much, Ozzy, and I'll be sure to do that as we kind of prep the results back here. But guys, that was a battle of the high ground, and that was a battle for the top 10. We couldn't call it at all. I'm not really going to fluff on here. I just want you to just jump into that analysis, because I really want to hear what you were able to see, how we got to this crazy situation in round number 6.
Absolutely. That was one of the craziest game 6s I've had a chance to cast, and I've cast or watched. I've watched a lot of Fortnite. Absolutely insane finish. We had the 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th teams all place within top 7. We had 2 high ground changes, but in the end, it was Rapta, Frizzy, and Oatley who were able to take high ground and secure a win there. Crazy, crazy finish right there, Timmy. One of the most ridiculous I've seen in recent history.
Yeah, that was absolutely unbelievable. The amount of height changes. I've never seen height change once in this meta recently, let alone twice. We saw bounces being used to retake height. It was unbelievable. As we go through a bit of the mid game stuff here, I'm sort of lost for words a little bit, because that end game was just ridiculous, wasn't it? Fallout.
It was, yeah. And the early game was a little bit slow. It was almost like an inverse type of situation that we're used to seeing out of Oceania, which of course is known for its aggression, known for its W keying early on. But it was a stacked late game, and it was a crazy finish with the 2 high ground changes. Oceania absolutely delivering on hype, on excitement in game number 6. And of course, also some nice shots there. The Kazi snipe right there. I just don't know how a Russian Spy and Kazi lost high ground. I mean, they had it and looked like they had complete control. Aussie called that brilliantly.
Yeah, I think I'm not too sure if we see it on broadcast, but I'm fairly certain they lose it, because the second team who takes high ends up getting it with bounces. And then after that, the other team just ends up build fighting them for it. That very unusual compared to what we've seen all tournament long, and even the weeks before now. People who have height at half or in first moving hold height the whole way through, and Oatley takes it at the end. It ends up taking the win, which will secure him as qual, as they went into this with 11th place.
Absolutely. Talk about controlling your own fate to secure a top 10 finish in a qualification. Again, OCE delivers. What a fun game 6 to watch, Vandy. That was insane.
It was a super fun game to watch. Now, while we're crunching the results and finding out who exactly our top 10 were, because it was so close, I'm going to do a quick shout out to some after or post-stream entertainment that you can get involved with. So keep an eye out tonight for Tash Sultanish. They are a Melbourne artist who's partnered with FNCS and the Australian Open to give fans an exclusive performance of tracks from their new album, Terra Firma. If you're a Fortnite fan, follow the link that we'll be dropping in chat to tune in, as we'll be starting in just a few minutes. You can probably catch it right after this broadcast. So supporting some local talent if you're wondering what else you can watch. But we also do have our winners officially up here on screen. Congratulations to Jinx, Alec, and Worthy. Guys, I mean, there's no real surprises here with how they played, huh?
Absolutely not. Jinx, Alec, and Worthy, they do it. They deliver as expected with this God squad. They are so incredibly good. The reigning champs from last season. They take home a first place finish and make myself, as well as my friend Timmy here, look pretty decent with our prediction. But obviously, how could you count them out? What a good showing from them. And the fact that they were contested at Dirty Docks 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 games and won every single fight, that breaks actually a record, because typically we don't see teams that are contested off drop finish, because typically you're 50-50. And that just goes to show the skill that they have and the skill disparity and the skill ceiling in OCE, Timmy.
Yeah, man. For a while there, it looked like Goeg, Scammed, and Zorka might take it from them, actually. But final performance there in the last game from Worthy, Jinx, and Alec making the difference. And we've got all the standings here. Goeg, and Scammed end up at second with their 1 victory royale. As we go down the line here, we see Aussie's choice for winners. Dana Thesaurus and Skits in third, so a really good performance from them, and a good pick from Aussie there. Brezzo, Culture, and Luna in fourth. I love to see that from them. Good moving on to a new trio and performing well, coming in fourth. And then Bathan, Zedox, and Seo. Consistency from that trio. We didn't really see too much of them, but just there, seeming always there in endgame, always making a difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I want to point out, the teams that we predicted both placed within the top 3. And then on top of that, the teams we said that are dark horse or teams to watch or to keep an eye on, Luna, Brezzo, Culture, Raptor, Frizzy, and Oatley, well, they also qualify. As you see Raptor, Frizzy, and Oatley in 9th place. They sneak on through with a dominant game right there. If you're a fan of Mr. Fresh Asian, a.k.a. Fresh, well, you're happy. He ties with 102 points, takes home 8th with the tiebreaker. Fresh will be qualifying through to the semifinals alongside Spiker. Slicks Bailey with a really, really good game right there in game number 6. We didn't really talk about them too much, but Bailey popped off in that late game as well alongside Zanz, Oreo, and Raikou. Another team that played incredibly well throughout. And this is the heartbreaker page. This is the page that makes you really, really sad here as Russian, Kazi, and Spy so close to qualifying, Timmy.
Yeah, just falling outside, and that really goes to show you have to be practicing your height. If they'd done a little bit more research on how to hold height, they'd have made it through the extra 1 point. I think it was a tiebreaker there, if I'm not mistaken. The other team who who qualified had 85 points as well. So losing out to a tiebreaker, quite heartbreaking. And then Remy, Pace, and Spraz as well there after that pickaxe battle at the beginning of game 6. Just don't make it in 12th. And then, of course, the guys who pickaxe battled them in 13th, Tripper, Rip, and BMP in 14th, and Nunca, Grav, and Chains rounding out our top 15.
That's exactly right. And again, I want to say kudos to Kazi and them. They played very, very well. They had high ground. I hope they go back and watch the VOD and see exactly what went wrong and how they were able to lose high ground through those bouncer plays. But nonetheless, they played incredibly well, tying for that top 10. They'll, of course, have a chance to qualify through next week, Vandy, in our week 3.
That's it. So we do have one more week of qualifiers, as Fallout said. So I am very, very excited for this. But guys, we've come to this part of the show where it's time for us to wrap it up. Any final thoughts for the days, or would you like to go through any thank yous? Fallout, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to give a big shout out to the OCE region. That's where I got my start shoutcasting 11 years ago, which is crazy to think about. I got so much love for Australia, New Zealand, and OCE. And of course, having a chance to do this alongside Timmy is a pleasure, as Timmy is absolutely crushing it on his second broadcast ever. So big shout out to Timmy. Big shout out to Aussie Antics and Monster D-Face. But most importantly, every single one of y'all in OCE, thank you so much for being one of the best communities in Fortnite. I'm a big fan of the Australian Open as well. Thank you, the Australian Open, as I think the men's finals are starting here in 15 minutes. I'm going to go watch that. I'm excited.
Nice. Timmy, yourself, any final words for today?
Oh, just a big thank you to you guys making my job nice and easy. Big thanks to Aussie and MDF for doing a great job on the shoutcast, and production for doing a great job back there. Just really enjoyed myself, and we've got 10 new trios to bring in next week. Really looking forward to see what happens.
Absolutely. So you heard it here first, guys. I just wanted to give a big thank you, of course, to our casters, Aussie Antics and Monster. We all have done it, but they did a phenomenal job keeping up the hype, especially in that round 6. It was a kerfuffle, but wouldn't have imagined anyone better to bring us that action. Paula and Timmy, you've both been amazing to work with. Loved it. Everyone watching at home, thank you so much. Production, thank you for a smooth run. Thank you as well to the Australian Open and Epic Games, for which we would not have the FNCS for Oceania to enjoy. We will see you for week 3 of the qualifiers at the same time, same place next week. Bye.